ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the night here for the trials here for Team Brazil. And my stuff was not kept up, so we're going to go ahead and do a thing. We're going to pause at 10 seconds, and I'm going to unpause, and we're going to get this thing going, wasting no time, as we are directly into things here.
10 seconds or 10%?
Oh, 10 seconds, yeah. So I'll talk things through with Dexter really quick, just so we can get instant energy. The point is being capped now, and I'll let you know what percentage I'm going up as I count. So I'm at 3%.
Just go to 10. I'm at 10.
All right. I'm going to get over to 10%, and then we're going to properly cast the game like normal human beings. 10%. All right, here we go.
Yeah, so everyone, welcome in. A little bit late here for us starting, but Team Brazil trying out has the most players trying out here of any team that we've covered so far with 49. So expect to see a lot of names throughout the night here. And already you see a lot of big names here for both these teams. As Ludwig going to be able to find Grillo there for the red side.
Yeah, no, 100%, and we're trying to get this thing rocking and rolling for each side, as at least the red squad trying to just hold out, eventually be pushing out a little bit with Connie and Luck in with that classic combination to get things going. As you see it thrown back the other way, as we have seen this with some other scrims where or tryouts where teams would be running the same thing and they test out certain things, but this is like what you would consider potentially like the meta comp, as well as you see XFL can be forced out momentarily. Grillo, though, the first one going to be going down. Connie taking advantage of the situation with the Graviton Surge online, ready to go. Does need to pull it, though, as there's only 2 remaining, and with 60% on the board already, red team is looking good.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is for blue team, their tank, that is definitely a streamer name, so we won't know who that is coming out of the gate. But like I said, 49 players trying out, multiple players at every position, so expect to see a lot of swaps in throughout the night. But like you said, Hunter, both these teams running mirror comps for what is the meta comp at the moment. Red team, though, in a really good spot with ultimates here, could really start this fight off with Consumer Rush, and if they win it fast enough, that might just be the point.
Yeah, no, 110% here. And now, again, Graviton Surge is still ready. This has it right around the corner, though, so we'll see what ends up coming into play as the overclock can be used by Dystopia. Unfortunately, they are cut down quickly. A lot of bodies pulled into that grab, though. Doesn't get a whole lot. It's going to beat after the fact as well. And now it's the question of a dry fight of who could pull this one around. Bodies start making their way on. Effie already gets rid of Scary One, and with that being the case, and the boop on top of things, it's looking like red should be able to hold this. Just Effie and Grillo trying to get in here, find a little something. Unfortunately, this really is just stalling one at a time, and red gonna be starting out pretty strong.
Yeah, a good start for them here. Again, when we joined the map originally, before we came on camera, they were already about 5% into capping that point right there. So again, a little bit of miscommunication. A little bit by us, a little bit by them here, but hey, we're gonna be in for a great night here. We'll finally see who that is for. That is Dalka, actually, as Effie's biggest fan. Thank you, Scrimcode, for not putting streamer name on that one. Looks like, though, we have lost, I believe, Scary One there for the red team. But again, this is gonna be a really good night. Brazil, probably the most anticipated team in these tryouts. Again, a lot of players trying out. This is definitely a country that, even as a lot of as Overwatch has come and gone in popularity, Brazil has really had a big love for this game, especially in the player base. They've always been around in all the World Cups, always making it to the main event every time, it seems. But now 49 players trying out, trying to get down to 7. So Hunter, think about that. A seventh of the people trying out for this will end up being on that final roster. Dalka, though, in between maps or in between points, looks like they turned streamer name off, so we'll be able to say that one here right. But coming out of the gate here, no big swaps, kind of what we expected. This is the meta comp right now for a reason, and you really have to look at the Vendetta plays from both sides here. Ludwig gonna be on it for red team, blue team gonna have Grillo. Those are 2 incredible flex DPS players in their own right, but Ludwig got the better of them in the first point.
Yeah, no, 100% did. So we'll see if anything does change up as a result, as we have another quick little disconnection, as it should be fixed up just like that. As I think are they doing what I think they're doing? Are they? I mean, we'll find out in a moment, obviously. We'll wait and see what comes to form, as no reason to have it pause when you do have the scrim code as it is, where you can just keep adding time as much as you need.
Yeah, and again, this gives us a little bit more time to talk about what we really expect from this night here. I mean, there's a lot of familiar names for both me and you covering Face It, and in both North America and South America, as there have been some Brazilians who have been playing in North America as of lately. But again, we've been seeing a lot of these names in South American face, and a lot of them have been really, really good, and some of them have been really good on maybe some teams that haven't been able to find the success on the team-wise, but still, the individual players are looking great here. But Dalka, Grillo, Shaunoff, I'm just going to say Baz and Daima are going to be on the blue team, while it's Connie, Ludwig, Dystopia, Scary One, and XFL on the red team here. Already, though, XFL going to be, or already just trying to get their team in here, but no big swaps for either side here, as both of them still, again, running that metacom.
Yeah, no, 110% to get things going. Honestly, again, it's the most important comp that's available right now. It's important to see it here early on, see what they can do with it. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of rotation throughout the night with some of these comps as well, but there's a lot of days of trials to come, so obviously see as we see that jump over onto the high down. Grillo wants to try to get something. Just managed to barely stay alive, was in the single digits in that situation, but still Red holding the point once again.
Yeah, and again, good job by Grillo staying alive there. Now that they immediately just have to back up, you're really looking at the Lucios in this situation here for these Vendetta being able to get them out of these fights, as you see blue team just charging right back in.
Oh no, 110%. They want to try to take this one back over quickly. But Shaunoff has been taken out early. You take the tryout, though, with both of the Vendettas finding picks of their own. But still, I don't think it's enough to willingly be able to go full speed. But they're going to go for it anyway. Connie is trying to play the merry-go-round and stay alive. Here comes that aggression. Is Sophia back in the fight, but they're going to be drawn just as quickly as Blue's going to take over the point. 35% for Red. And Ultimates-wise, we have a Kitsune Rush ready for Demi.
Yeah, Demi's going to have that one here pretty early on in blue team. They can really push up with it. The only thing red team's going to have here is the overclock and potentially a grab towards the end of the fight or the midpoint of the fight. That Kitsune Rush out from Demi early on really could buy a lot of space, really winning a team fight as well. As you see red team just going right back in, and Connie already fully charged.
Yeah, 100% as we're having Connie being down. That makes it tough to pull this back for anywhere. So this fight is already done and dusted. You'd love to find somebody else, but no reason to risk yourself in that situation.
Yeah, no reason to right there. Good back out there by red team. Again, that one fight, you got the Kitsune Rush out there from Demi, and like I said, you use that. You could win the fight very early on. Getting rid of Connie is what you need to do in this competition. Red team, though, coming back in, gonna have their own Kitsune, their own overclock, their own grab, their own Sundering Blade as well. But watch out for Dalka throwing out that grab here pretty early on, because Scary One does not have the beat ready to go. There's a grab, though, from Dalka.
Yeah, nobody getting burnt down at the end of the day, though. And on top of that, you're going to be working up to that. But XFL gets caught out when the Kitsune Rush is released. But still, Dalka being down does put them in a weird predicament, as Grillo's going to try to run some bodies down with what they've got left in that pool. As Shaunoff and Demi both trying to help them as much as humanly possible. But the numbers are staggering. Red will take it back. 64% to Blue, though. But now, Graviton Surge ready for Connie in this instance.
Grab, overclock, Sundering are beat ready for red team here. Blue team, they're going to have their own Sundering Blade, own overclock, and own beat, but you don't have the grab. The biggest thing right now for this red team is that grab from Connie, but Dystopia going to start off this fight with the overclock, but you just see Baz get the entire team out of there, and Sean also responds with the overclock. I feel like that's a little bit of a mistake there from blue team, but at least you're forcing red team to stay, you know, honest with them and not poking too far up.
Oh, no, 110%. And now beats both ready to go right here. That grab is still available. You might have to use it just to try to force out that beat and give yourself a better chance in this fight, especially when you have it in response. And that grab's going to come out. Both beats going to be used here in exchange. Sundering Blade to try to give them a little bit of room. And Grillo gets rid of two with it. Blue is going to take this point over quickly as Dystopia, last one out, should be able to stay alive. But they go on the big hunt for him. But it looks like they should be able to stay alive.
You know, Hunter, I've started to see a lot of Vendettas do that more recently, just throwing themselves into a grab with Sundering Blade, and you're seeing why a lot of people are doing that, because you can find value with it, just getting stuck in it. The other team wants to try to find you out, but no, you can just come crashing down them. Finding two right there opened up so much there for blue team. Now look at them. They have a Kitsune Rush here in what could be final fight, and I don't think red team really has anything to respond here. They need to have XFL build up to their own Kitsune.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now you're heading into this final fight. That's going to be a big dictation as this one goes down. But Connie needs to stay alive, very importantly so. You obviously want to hook up to a Kitsune Rush as well, as Demi has already used yours, but they don't even get out there, man. Oh, that is rough.
Red team just played to get that Kitsune Rush, but it took them a little bit too long there. Good job by blue team being able to pressure them out, make them stay on that high ground. But red team, again, it's one of those situations where you need to have someone be the touch. And once it gets around 95%, you have to be getting in. Ooh, that's a little interesting thing. Looks like there's some codes that Team Brazil is giving out throughout the stream. Again, this is broadcast being put on by Grupo Senju. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that pops up throughout the stream here tonight by them. But it will. Oh, actually, wait.
Are you going to fight for him, Dex? Are you going to try to get those codes mid-cast?
No. I'm just making sure the messages that are going on in the Senju server are not related to what's on screen right now.
That's smart.
Yeah, looks like we're fine there. But I mean, again, coming out of the gate here, you see both the teams actually get off the Zarya for the first time here tonight, going over to the Divas instead. Connie and Dalka have both shown us in the past that their Divas can be just as good as the Zaryas here, but I like what we're seeing here from Demi. Going over to the Juno. Normally, that's been something we've seen here pretty frequently, but it might just be for speed ring out because they're not taking the Sim TP before they go right back over to Kiri themselves, which is probably what we're going to see here from them. But again, a really good start here for both these two teams. Blue team got a bounce back after red team dominated that first point. The TP out there from red team really doesn't help them as blue team's going to be able to match them here in the middle of this point.
No, 100%. And already early picks coming through. Connie being knocked out of the mech isn't exactly going to help their case here. Grillo overplaying the hand for maybe a moment, but still more than happy to try to cut some people down. Misses out, though, so while they don't get the pick on the way out, they will be able to claim this point to get started early on.
And you can tell when someone's feeling confident in their team and how they're playing. Grillo going in there very deep, able to get themselves out as well. They have that faith in Dalco, they have that faith in Demi and Baz to be able to get them out of these situations here. As you already see red team coming charging right back in and forcing out that spear, or the spin there from Grillo. So red team could play a little bit quicker here now to try to at least be able to shut someone down.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Shonoff is looking for that shot right there. Grillo the one suffering at the moment, though, as you're trying to get in here, find somebody early on this fight to kind of give you that opening that you need to move forward. But the longer it goes on, the more that blue is just going to keep poking away. Stofia goes down early on, and now blue just has to settle. They don't have to chase necessarily, but they're going to go for it and try to find somebody caught out here. You see that cut down momentarily as Connie going to be knocked out of that mech once more. And now everyone else needs to run for the hills.
Yeah, and good job, or good idea here by blue team, just leaving Connie out of the mech, because they're basically forcing red team to make the decision. Does Connie just kind of jump off the map, take a little bit of a swim? But no, it looks like they're going to be able to get back into the mech here. However, Dystopia coming back from spawn, looks like they're being harassed a little bit, but Demi finds Connie out before they're even able to get back in the mech.
Oh, 100%, and now 60%. Blue looking great right now. As, yeah, this thing is just going to be, I mean, look at that. 4 ultimates ready to go, but that beat from Scary One is going to be very useful.
It's going to be very useful, but it's not going to be as useful as it was per se like last point with the Zarya grab being online. Now the beat could be used to really aggress them in or really just be able to keep them alive. But Sean going to be starting it off here with the overclock as Xfel starts off with the Kitsune Rush for the red team.
Yep, 100%. It's going to cause to get a little bit of space right here. You've already used half of your ults already if you're the blue squad, though, so now red has a bit more to work with here, especially if Dystopia can actually get this overclock over and online. But you see Dalka more than happy to keep holding this aggressive angle. Eventually, they're going to be forced in, though, as 2 bodies getting low. 1 going to be knocked off, and I think Scary One just got nothing out of that beat ultimately, and now Connie going to get on here, has a bomb in hand, is just going to have to try to let it loose and try to stay alive. If they can, this is still a winnable situation, but Lugwood needs care with that Sun and Blade available. Gonna make a little bit of space, but unfortunately, nobody going down, and Dex there just throwing bodies on, hoping to get something here. But it is blue now being cleaned out a bit as they're keeping presence over on the point, and somehow, some way, red kept themselves in this one.
And this is the most stallable point on this map. We've seen it in the past where teams have gone up 9-0, looked very dominant, but then the other team just was able to stall out long enough, get the point in their control, and then they never looked back. Good plays there by Ludwig and really Dystopia to open up a lot in that fight there. But you look over at blue team, beat, bomb, ready to go. So they could use this beat pretty aggressively here just to force themselves in. And that's what they're going to do as Baz uses it. And now blue team going to just go on the aggressive.
Yeah, but nobody down yet early on. And now Dystopia not getting a ton of value either. You have to contemplate maybe having to let this cap go through. You get there at the very last second as Sophia not able to get anything with that overclock as Connie is doing everything they can to kind of just survive over on the point. Demi early on being taken down here does give them a good chance, but We're going to see blue fall apart once more, have to take another reset here as these ultimates are coming on for red. I mean, massively important, even if they're ahead by just a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, a really good fight there by red. Yeah, the overclock from Dystopia didn't find any picks, but it forced blue team into a spot where they had to play around that pillar in the middle, forcing red team to know, like, hey, we knew they were going to be there, but still, you look over the other side for blue, bomb, overclock, Sundering Blade, Kitsune Rush, about to be ready for them. You're about to have both your support ultimates, your tank ultimate, and your Sundering Blade for red team as well, so it's going to be pretty evenly here for this ult fight this time around. However, Hunter, this is a long fight. This could be final fight.
Yeah, very well could be. Liquid has been taken down early, though. Had Sundering Blade around the corner, and now Scary One needs to try to get this beat online. He's getting chased down, though. Can't even let it out, and now that could be all you need. Connie and the rest of their sports trying to hold on, but they're being cleared out one by one. Connie will get a retouch here with a bomb at the very least. He's going to try to make some space. Really needs to try to stay in the mech, and is able to get back in the mech. A Scary One needs to try to run over to the point with that beat, and all four are going to catch on to, at least for the moment. Demi being pressured to Shaunov in the same position, but with that beat coming out, that should be able to close curtains on this one. Scary One, nice little boop overhand to Demi, though, to keep things alive and rocking and rolling. Somehow, Red keeps themselves in these fights as well. This should be over by now, and I think with the mech being locked out, Liquid trying to make their way back. Sundering Blade available. Unfortunately, it is not going to matter. They'll be cleaned up, but Red, man, did they fight for it.
Yeah, like I said, this point is probably the most stallable point in the entire game. Across every map, every mode, I think this point in particular gives the best chance just to continuously stall out the point. And red team did a good job at least being able to try to get back to it, but blue team, I mean, they had that dominant start on this map. They basically picked up right where they left off from control center. And again, Grillo, we talked about from going into map 1 to map 2 or point 2, where Grillo was kind of getting a little bit diffed there by Ludwig, but Grillo in that second and third point really started to take a lot of that pressure away from that and from the enemy team and actually apply it back to them there. So really great play all around. But now, welcome back everyone to the booth here. First time tonight that we are going to be here. Again, a lot of players trying out here for Team Brazil. Based off what we've been told, there are 49 players trialing here tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. And I believe there's going to be more weeks of it. So while you can easily say, because I believe there's at least 8 people trying out for every role, that we're going to be seeing 10 new people for at least the first 4 maps, you might not see some players tonight. You might see a lot of the same players tonight as well, but we do expect to see a constant influx of new players throughout the night.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see how many people end up kind of going in and out. I can't imagine it's going to be the full group. I imagine what this is going to be is and again, this is just me contemplating what I believe is going on, is that they have separate groups between all of the days going on in this first week, because as things are planned, there's multiple weeks that are going to be used to trial in this situation, so I'm guessing that there are already certain pulls made so that everyone can get an equal amount of maps throughout the entirety of this first week to get an accurate look at everybody and what they can do. So it'll be obviously nice to see. I think we'll figure out a little later on whether that theory holds any merit, because Dex, you could technically force 49 people into one scrim block. It would just be hard, I think, to get as much information as you could if you said, you know, half play today, half play tomorrow.
Yeah, or, I mean, you just cut it in thirds, basically. Like, what would that end up being? Like, it would be 16, 16, and 16 almost, but one of the days would have 17 players. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. Cutting in half would be smart, but like I said, if all 49 are ready tonight, could see a big influx, could see 10 new players in for at least the first 4 maps and still be looking at someone for the first time here. But again, I think when it comes down to all these tryouts that we've been covering and all the show matches we've been covering, Team Brazil is probably the one that we looked at with the most anticipation, because like we talked about on that first point, we have seen a lot of these players in Faceit League. The majority of the teams in Faceit League have been comprised of Brazilian players. Yes, there are teams out there that were a full team of Argentinians, a full team of people from Colombia, a mixed mash of people all on Dilpados this last season from different countries. It's really interesting, but Brazil, for the most part, has been essentially the country that's been putting the most players into Faceit League, at least at that Masters tier. So we have a big expectation for this team, and especially with some of the names on it, they look like, honestly, they might be able to, if they get the right 7, granted, that's going to be really hard for them to make that right pick. But if they get the right 700, this might be a team that a lot of people are going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, again, with the staff behind this as well, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, O2 Boss being the main coach for the squad as well is going to be entertaining as, if you didn't know, the coach for O2 Blast in many recent times. I think there's a lot to look forward to for this team. And obviously, with so many people trying out, obviously everyone else believes there's a lot to look forward to as well. And everybody's going to fight tooth and nail to try and get one of these spots. And obviously, anyone who gets it, it's going to be hard fought. It's going to be earned. It's going to take weeks of trialing to be in this position. But ultimately, that should bring us down to the best 7 that we possibly can have. And obviously, while there's definitely more than 7 players that I think deserve that position, ultimately that decision will have to be made.
Yeah, and that's, again, a tough decision. We talked about how tough it would be for Honduras last night with only having what ended up being 12 players trialing for them, how tough that's going to be. Maybe with 49, it'll be a little bit easier to say we can get rid of like these handful of players, but there's going to be a lot of tough discussions because even me and you, when we saw the list of people that are the list of players that are trialing for this, we both were like going back and forth on a lot of players. And even me and you, I think, had personal opinions on some players that you thought like, hey, this is someone that you could see as a lock wall. I, on the other hand, definitely did not see them as a lock be on this team. But again, we won't say who those players are. We're not going to do that. But again, there's a lot of incredible talent here in Brazil, and especially like me and you have been saying over the past couple of weeks now, there's a lot of great talent here in South America, but Brazil is the hotbed for it. And when it comes to Overwatch, this is a country that has not had the best representation when it comes to in a region that has not the best representation. And I think Brazil might be able to get a lot of eyes on this region here if they're able to go far.
Yeah, no, 100%. I 100% believe that could be the case. Remember, this country managed to get to that top 16 last year. I think looked pretty good overall. Obviously, didn't manage to get through that group stage to be able to play within that top 8 on the main stage, but still, they got to that point. They gave it their all. But from everything we've seen from a lot of these players from this region throughout the last several months, it gives a lot of confidence as to what they can do. And the little additional thing as well is obviously with them being already playing within their conference, they don't have to go through the wild card. They do get that extra time to be able to adjust, to kind of keep working and being at the best level they can possibly be at. So obviously important to be at the best rank possible, but it's going to be exciting to see what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, as eventually when we do head into our second map of the night here, we will try to point out new people coming in. We will do that throughout the night, and let's preference it as well. We didn't have to talk about on the first map because, hey, we went to a third point. Honestly, both teams won the first points, so a third point was needed to decide the winner of it. But because we are playing on Scrim Code, much like over the past 2 weeks at this point of tryouts, we will be playing through all the points on a map. Even if a team, say on King's Row, gets stopped on Street Phase in that first round, even if the second team in that attacking in that second round gets to that golden box of victory, they will still try to push to complete the map there. And it's always an interesting thing because we have definitely seen it where some players have forgotten that and have put their team maybe in a little bit of a worse spot by just throwing an ultimate out for no reason. And that's going to be something that I hope we don't see tonight, but it's definitely a possibility. But I think it also throws a little bit of a wrench into stuff and sometimes might actually be beneficial for these coaches to see how players react to going into certain fights without some certain ultimates.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like players have probably learned at this point. But again, this is the beginning of another set of trials for a whole different country. You would assume people would know. But it's also happened multiple times already throughout a lot of the streams of these last couple of weeks. So at this point, I don't know how much I could blame anybody. I hope they just know ahead of time. Because if we go to like a flashpoint where we go to like fourth point and we see a beat come out, it's like, buddy, I hate to tell you, but the game's still going.
Yeah, but I mean, again, that mistake might happen here tonight. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll call it out if it does. And trust me, we will call it out. But again, this should be really fun here tonight. Again, 2 more days this weekend, tomorrow and Sunday for Brazil. Going to be doing their tryouts. I don't think me and you are going to be doing it tomorrow, but we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the stream. But again, we're in for a really fun night here when it comes to Brazil. They have a lot of good players waiting still for second map to go in here. Normally, I feel like what we've been seeing these past couple nights after the initial control map, we've normally gone to hybrids. We have seen push here, but if anything, it wouldn't surprise me to see King's Row next. Do you want to make a prediction on that, Hunter?
Well, the great part about being a caster is that your predictions are ultimately wrong about 80% of the time. So it's nice to do it in hopes that maybe one day we get to 20%. So yeah, we'll say King's Row's the next map. King's Row will be the next map. They'll go out there and they'll play Ryan Sim May. That's the only correct comp to play on King's Row. We all know this. This is a reality of Overwatch.
It's a reality for some people, and apparently not us. But again, I mean, I'm looking at a lot of these names on here, and just looking at all the names on the roster or the tryout list here for people that we have definitely seen and faced it last season. I mean, Connie, Gusagobo, you have Livico, God Hanzo, Dalko, which you saw on that first map, the Flex DPS, Shinigami, Lucas, Rainy Day, Cabadel, Ligtat, Ludwig, midfielder, Grillo, Corey. I mean, again, I'm picking around here just some names I can recognize from Faceit League. But I think both me and you had the same kind of discussion when we said, like, what's the hardest role to pick here? And it's honestly Flex DPS. Because I think a lot of those Flex DPS players that are trialing here for Brazil might just be the best Flex DPS players in the entire region, not just the country themselves. I think that is going to be a really hard one. There's 12 players individually trying out for Flex DPS, 10 for main support, 10 for tank, 8 for hit scan, and 9 for flex support here. So again, a lot of incredible talent here again for Brazil. But I mean, it's gonna be really interesting to see here because we saw a lot of those players in that first map, and while Ludwig got off to a good start, Grillo was able to catch up to them and really surpass them there on that Vendetta. And a lot of that comes down to how the Zarios are playing, and I don't think Connie or Dalko necessarily did bad on the Zarias, and you could really probably say Dalko did better as the map went on as well, because they were able to really help their Vendetta really be able to catch up to the Vendetta on the other side and surpass them.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see how all of them play throughout these next couple of weeks, because the bright side is, especially with this list right here, it's rather nice to look at this and be like, I know at least half these names. And so that's a really good feeling in a situation like this to know many of these players through all the teams that they have played on. Because we've had that situation where we know some of these players, whether we're covering something like Honduras, Chile, Costa Rica, but there is a large number of players that like, oh, I've seen them play before, or I've seen them play a lot for that matter. So obviously excited to see all of them in this position and see what they can do. But I know we're still getting things figured out with this second map right now. We don't know how much the lineups are going to change. It might only be a couple. It might be all 10 for all we know. But I think the swaps that we see on the second map should give us a pretty good indication of what the plan is for the night.
The fact that it's maybe taking this long to get into the second map is really making me believe that it might be all 10 at this point. Or someone couldn't connect, so they're trying to find someone to fill their role here right now. But again, I mean, we're even seeing Violet and Mono on the feed that we're seeing kind of be at this point right now with me and you, where we're just trying to figure out something to talk about at the moment. But again, it should be really fun. I think that's gonna be something I say a lot here until we get into the second map, especially with all the players here. I'm gonna be really excited to see some of the flex supports players, because there's a lot of names that I know there, but there's a couple names that I don't know, and that's normally been the players that have really impressed me over these last couple of days as we've been covering tryouts. The players that I don't know, that the ones that come in as just question marks to me, because they leave a little bit of a lasting impact on me just with how good they were able to do in the time that we saw them. And there was definitely a couple players last night that we saw, and there's definitely going to be a lot of players that I expect tonight to have that same sort of reaction to.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what we want. We want to be able to kind of look out and say, okay, I wasn't familiar with your game, so it's going to be really fascinating to see. Honestly, out the gate, Dalka was one of those names where I wasn't super familiar with it, but I think had a really good presence for the points that they were in over on Lijiang. And I hear the rustling of things, and it looks like we're getting into this thing very quickly as we look at the list, and it looks like, yeah, it looks like a full swap on both sides.
Yeah,
or at least
all 10 swapped out here, so that might tell you how this night is going to go here. Wisely, Ligtat, WVP, Pardal, and Vicious on the red team, while it's going to be Luvico, Lucas, Shin, Marcel, and Capium on that blue team. And I feel like a lot of those players on the blue team have played together, at least in Face It League in the past, because I feel like me and you, Hunter, definitely cast them a little bit here. So this blue team, I think we know a little bit more of the red team, especially Wisey. I don't think we've seen them a lot, or maybe at all. So they're going to be someone I'm really watching out for here on this map, especially playing the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, 100%. The Wrecking Ball, not something you see every day. But at this point in the game, obviously with the ball down, can't make a whole lot of progress as the cleanup's starting to come through. And, I mean, Blue is just at a position where it's going to be really hard to dive this backline. Even with the ball, it'll be tough.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be hard. However, if you get the sleep dart out from Capium, you can deal with Marcel. You can deal with the peel. You just need to be able to get a little bit of tension away from really the cart here. As you already see Ligtat just trying to pull some tension away, allow the team to get out freely. Lovico trying to stop him here. But I like what we're seeing here from WPB going over to this Emre. Again, maybe about 2 days ago, Emre was looked at as very weak. I feel like the patch that we got on Tuesday really changed the opinions of that, where I saw someone say he's not the tickle monster anymore. He can two-tap you.
Oh, I do remember this clip. That is crazy. But we'll see how much they can do over on the Emre. It will be fascinating to see, but Shin just kind of trying to hang back. You see the pulse bomb there from Lucas comes out, doesn't find any recipients, though. So now you worry about some of these support ultimates beginning to come online. Marcel and Capium way before that of Pardal and Vicious at the moment as they try to go for some assassination. But Lucas is a bit outnumbered right now. But here, Vermal goes and tries to find somebody, even things out a little bit. Eventually be taken out as Ligtat tries to find something with the pulse bomb. Unfortunately, that nano helps Shin stay alive through all of it. And Blue stabilizes once more. Even with Wazy kind of hanging around, it's not going to matter a whole lot.
Two ultimates expended there by both teams. Both DPS ultimates out for red team, while WPV was able to find one with the override. You were really hoping to find something there from Ligtat on that Tracer. We know how good they are on these flex DPS, but the mines from Wazy, you really need to use them just to be able to buy some space. If you find a pick with it, great. If you just buy space, even better. As you do see them out, pile drive in, but you do see the split, and they do find Capium.
Yeah, and Shin is separated, but that's a nice knockaway right there to be able to, you know, keep alive more of your members. That Bob hanging around, though, is going to make it a little bit more difficult with Livico knocked out of the mech as well. Should be able to get back in. Unfortunately, it's just in a really weird spot right there. So they're still making progress over on this point. Without D.Va, this is probably going to be their best opportunity to pull this one back around. But the rally is going to put them in an awkward spot. Knocked up into the air, but still someone needs to go and touch that point. And it's the rallying Marcel, who's going to be able to hang around to make their way back in again. Red's going to be stopped here. Vicious just needs to save that rush for final fight.
Yeah, save the rush for final fight. Ligtat's able to build up to another pulse bomb here. WPV might have another override as well. They land a couple shots early on, but you look over at blue team. They invested everything in that fight, and granted, Lucas getting the pulse bomb kill is the only reason that blue team is still defending this first point at the moment, but red team is in a little bit of a better spot here. Cannot afford to lose anyone early on, so you have to be watching these angles right now, especially as Shin has done a good job here, as you already see Ligtat just trying to get their way into the backline. If they can find Marcel out early on, that'd be a huge pick. Pulse bomb ready for them, throws out, finds the stick, and they get both supports.
Yeah, cleans up the third, and poor Luvico is just going to have to go die on this point. Take that loss as the first point will inevitably be capped. It will be capped, however, in overtime, so that is meaningful for the blue squad. Not a ton of time going into second, but still a much-needed pulse bomb to keep their attack going.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, once Ligtat saw Marcel on their own, that was their target right away. They had pulse bomb ready to go. They just backed up in the Capium, and I think put themselves in a bad spot there. Good play though by Ligtat. 2.5 minutes now for red team to continue this push. However, I mean, red team's actually in a good spot here. You have override. You're gonna have mines here pretty soon. While the only thing blue team's gonna have is a nano. So you can see red team here start to snowball, especially with the momentum that this team has at the moment. We've seen what Ligtat's been able to do in the past, and Wisey, I think they've been doing good on this wrecking ball so far.
Yeah, no, it has looked really good so far, and obviously that ball is something that seems to fall into the niche a little bit, but I think it's still extremely useful to have that be something that is available. Now, Pardell is being harassed in the backline, eventually going to get the care they need and will stay alive, so another successful fight for Red. They have the mines as well as the override protocol, so they do have some good tools going into this next one.
Yeah, I mean, Mines Override Protocol beat another Pulse Bomb from LakeTat. Blue team, though, they're going to have Bomb, Nano, and their own Pulse Bomb here. So Blue team is not necessarily out of the woods just yet, but they need to play smart here as Wisey. Good spot on the Mines. They're going to be able to split up Blue team here for the moment, but you need to find the picks. Capium, though, going to be able to shut down WPB. I don't think you're going to see Red team really get anything here.
No, I mean, Capium got separated, but unfortunately, in such a way to where if it was a Diva, yeah, Capium would be done and dusted, but the way the ball is, I just couldn't really reach that area. So now the mines are gone. You still have 3 really good ultimates, but this high ground control from Blue has to be taken care of soon.
It really does, and that's a lot of how this map is played now, or since the map change happened. The high ground is so dominant. In the past, I felt like it was very dominant up until a point, but still very strong right now. Lucas does see the pulse bomb. They're not going to be able to find anything, so this gives now Red Team here a really good opportunity, as there's the override protocol out from WPB, but another pulse bomb ready here for LakeTat.
Yeah, as you see the override protocol being used, it's not finding a ton of value, but eventually Shin is just kind of caught out on their own as the override going to be shut down. Things trading back out as LakeTat, another pulse bomb in hand, would love to find that value once more and send them into that third and final point. And the beat coming out, it's the full commit over onto this final fight to find something. Marcel about to have this rally ready to go as well. Lots of survivability, but Capium is surrendered from the rest of their team. But it's a great sleep to keep them going. Ooh. Everybody's forced back as overtime comes through. LakeTat not able to find the connection, ultimately taken down, and now you just have to try to rush on this point and pray you can do something.
Yeah, you really needed to win that fight when the beat came out there from Pardell. Losing LakeTat is not what you want to see. A rally now out from Marcel as Blue Team tries to stop this push here and now.
Yep, and with a Deadeye, this should be able to settle itself with that being the case, but Shin's going in. They want to see more bodies kind of go in and be involved and find some value here, but they're holding it. You know, you're waiting for that right time instead of just throwing out there, assuming that it's going to win you the fight. As full support's down, maybe you're feeling a little more confident in that situation. Shin gets rid of another Deadeye there. It's just going to be everyone cleaned up, and Red will be shut down just before that second point. And a good effort on Blue, because a majority of these fights, they definitely won them, and they kept the higher control very persistently.
Yeah, and they did a really good job shutting down the momentum that Red had after capping that first point. Like we mentioned, Red had a good ult bank to their name. They had 2 when Blue Team really didn't have any. That could have been a situation there where you start to see that snowball really get a little bit too big for Blue, but Blue did a good job really allowing Red to take some space, having Lucas go in that backline, annoy him. Luvico as well has been playing this Diva incredibly well, and honestly, I think Luvico did not necessarily get a lot of credit for keeping Capium alive in that fight, where you saw both LakeTat and Vicious go after them. I mean, Capium did everything they could to keep themselves alive. They played that thing incredibly well, playing around the architecture of the map. Luvico coming in, helping them out. Marcel coming in as well, being able to knock a sleeping, I believe it was LakeTat, away from them, was the only reason that I think Red Team does not cap that second point. When that beat comes out, if LakeTat finds Capium, there's no nano, you probably see Blue Team invest into it immediately after that, trying to just keep that fight going, but it would have been Red Team coming out on top. So good plays all around by Blue Team, being able to communicate what they needed to do there. However, now coming out of the gates here, the only main swaps for the teams are really WPV going over to the Ashe instead of the Emre this time around. I think on defense, Ashe is just a little bit better. Dynamite, we especially saw it last round from Shin for the most part, was very, very strong at just being able to slow down and really force the Red Team to just play around corners for a little bit longer.
Yeah, 100%. But we'll see what the value ends up being fine with that little bit of a swap up. Honestly, I think it could do a lot. That Emre was not finding the most value in the world, unfortunately. So I love the swap here. I love trying to change things up a little bit and see what we can do otherwise. But still, Blue trying to kind of pick up where they left off previously before, as you see, trying to keep that up there. But again, I mean, let's be very careful, because obviously the moment they powder up there, they're going to get stunned, knocked around, defense matrix, all the healing away. Really rough to deal with right now as Red's being pushed out, but Marcel, somehow, some way, is the first casualty.
And again, there was that dive that came out there from Blue Pardell, going to be able to find Shin, and now this is just red team being able to really stabilize here. Good play all around, even with Wazy and Ligtat kind of just playing cart. You still had enough members on that high ground for red team to really be able to stop a push there, a dive. WPV, Bardell, Vicious did a really good job shutting that one down there. And now, though, you look at where this card is, Hunter. Already about a minute and a half gone. If you're blue team, you probably want a little bit more. Red team going to give you a little bit of space here, but look at where everyone's playing right now. They're okay with Luvico pushing this card up on their own because red team is controlling where everyone else is for blue team.
Yeah, no, 100%, and now nearly half this time is already gone as Luvico is trying to stay in the mech. A little lucky to still be doing so right now as Lucas trying to find something. Also lucky not to take it out, but Ligtat very persistent as Pulse thrown out there. Gets rid of 2 in the fight. Eventually, it's just going to be sectioned away as Red's going to be able to clear things out and stabilize. And that, honestly, that's big at the end of the day. But now you have a full list of ultimates coming up for the blue side.
Yeah, but if you're the red team, you're happy that the only ultimate you really used in that entire fight was Pulse Bomb. I mean, you didn't use your Kitsune, you didn't use your Bob, you didn't use Mines. You have the ultimates to really shut down a lot of the ultimates on the other side. Even if it's not finding the picks with them, it's really just slowing them down. Nano, if it goes on someone besides Luvico, will get shut down by Mines, as you already see Wazy using them right there.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to cause a little bit of disruption ultimately, but you see everyone kind of trying to back out of that situation a little bit, gain a little bit more space, but see Lucas hanging around the back line, does have that pulse bomb still ready to go, wants to find some willing targets. Unfortunately, doesn't catch on to Pardell, who ends up using the rally to stay alive in there. They're in a slightly awkward spot, but again, you see that they're more than willing to kind of flip the map and keep that presence going as you try to get rid of Pardell. Eventually, Shin dedicates the Deadeye to them to help clear things out as Marcel going to initiate as well. Still his elbow trying to garner some of the space to try to shut some bodies down, with Marcel stuck in the corner. They're going to be burnt to shreds as Red, once more, is trying to get a hold on things, but the ball needs to stay alive.
Yeah, same thing with Ligtat. Ligtat can kind of sacrifice himself here. They're about to have Pulse Bomb, going to be able to recall to keep themselves up here, but eventually their counterpart on the other side will find them. This is a moment where if you're Wazy, backing out is not the worst thing. You still have the numbers coming back from your team from spawn to regroup and get back out there, but Wazy just going to continue contesting this. Nano and Bomb ready here for blue team. So again, this is going to probably be a very fast-paced fight for them as they do not want to lose someone here first.
Yeah, no, 100%, and now the cap beginning to come through here. 3 meters left to go. You see the back and forth, and with the ball being gone, can't imagine you can come back from this one. Ligtat going to be hit with the anti-nade, and yeah, going to be cleared out. So 2:40 left on the clock for the Boost squad. Going to have a lot more to work with here. Still, both of the bombs ready to go, but for Red, it's pretty much a reset on the ultimates.
I mean, Wazy will have mines, so that could buy them some time. But again, we're in the same situation as last round, where blue team was able to hold red team to capping that first point in overtime. Granted, red team gave up about 10 seconds there. That's the difference. But still, this is a composition for red team where if you are able to do what you do right there with Wazy and take that high ground, it's going to be very difficult for blue team to really do anything up there, as they're going to have to probably invest a lot of cooldowns and potentially an ultimate just try to get set up on that high ground. Instead, it looks like they're just going to favor playing on the low ground.
Yeah, 100%. Regardless of any of this being the case right now with Shin gone, things just kind of have to take a bit of a reset. Red going to keep reliance on their high ground, but Ligtat being caught out, I think is going to start opening the door here big time, especially as everyone from the blue team is kind of just out in the open in this area trying to push forward. But Lucas being down, that is a giant green light for y'all to start moving forward, try taking some advantage of some more of the space, because YC just needs to focus on being able to stay alive, get out of there, reset for another fight.
Again, blue team not investing a single ultimate into that fight. Granted, red team only had one going into it. Still has that one building up to 2 others here. So this could be a pretty heavy fight here. The Orti and Nano invested on the Luvico as mines going in the backline for blue team.
Yeah, 100%. As we're continuing forward here, just over a minute left on the clock as well. Both bombs still available, so definitely plenty to work with in this situation. But still, Pulse Bomb thrown out. Not going to find a whole lot of anything. But Sir on the other side is both of them barely able to escape from that. But Ligtat still it's being taken down by Cappy regardless. And with things opened up, perhaps using a Deadeye to make a little bit of room here, as it's going to be hard without any mines or anything. The Bob going to be online shortly to at least be able to kind of delay things a little bit. But the rally ends up coming out first to stall such a thing. And now, yep, there it is to make that space.
Nice.
Shin going to be knocked out. Yeah, it's really well timed right there, as blue really does just kind of have to back off for a moment.
And honestly, you want to try to get rid of this bomb here for red team if you're red team from Luvico. That's gonna be the only thing that really potentially push you off card, forces everyone to run away for a brief moment here. But good job by red team using your ultimates there. Wazy building up to another mines here very quickly would be incredible for red team, especially as they have nothing else. Capium, if you're looking at blue team here, you might need to play it slow. If Capium can build to it now, that could be a fight winner on its own. But somehow Shin lives.
That is a little insane, ultimately. I don't know how that ends up happening. Oh, but now you have the bomb getting ready to go onto the point over here. You're going to have the mines available, so you're going to be able to create a lot more space here. But still, you have to build up to it. Those last couple of percentiles are important. Try to hang around here as making the space currently is Livico. That bomb is ready, so if those mines come out, you could ultimately see them try to clean things up with the bomb to make sure those mines don't find value as it goes down. And you're going to see Colosse being knocked out. Is going to be Luvico right there, who doesn't make it back into the mech. Wazy now gets rid of a second one right here. It's Shin, who needs to get in there, and touches will be available. And here comes that nano. It needs to be big, but the pulse bomb is going to get rid of Marcel. Help is slowly leaving Shin's size as they barely get a retouch right here. Deadeye can be available, but it's not going to matter as somehow, someway, red will hold them just shy of it, less than 5 meters difference. The red team wins this one, but that is an extremely back and forth affair.
Extremely, and I really want to give it up to Wazy there at the end. Not only did they find the D.Va who had used the bomb to try to remech, but they also found the other touch out there of, I believe it was Lucas on the Tracer. They were able to bowl them into a mine before the bomb really cleared them out there. Without either one of those two there, you saw blue team basically have to rush someone onto the point, and the 3 remaining members that were there are not necessarily the 3 you want to be your ones that are your designated touchers in that situation right there. So really good job by Wazy and the rest of the remaining members of red team being able to find those 2 picks early on and basically just have a little bit of a cleanup crew after that. But again, Hunter, a really close back and forth map here. And that's, again, we expect that throughout the entire night. 10 new players came in. They started off kind of cold. I believe all 10 would say that, hey, we didn't get off to the best start, but man, do they look a lot better as time went on there for both sides.
Yeah, no, 100%. Extremely back and forth. I mean, both teams nearly getting full health for that matter. It came down to the overtime fight for both of them ultimately just to get past that initial checkpoint. So at the end of the day, it's a really good standing in terms of defense and how these teams are able to kind of manage their own high grounds and a lot of their ultimates as well. Because it never felt like in these fights that a team dumped ultimates into a fight. It wasn't like, man, they threw 4 ults into that fight. It was only ever like, honestly, like 2 max, discarding maybe the final fights where there's just a lot online and you have to throw something out there at that point. But either way, I think it's a really good performance from both squads in this instance. I think everybody in their own right ended up looking pretty good. The ball, again, you see out here, haven't seen much of them, but on that ball, I think was really impressive in their first outing.
Yeah, and you know what I always say about Wrecking Balls, Hunter. And Wrecking Ball and Doomfist players, they all kind of fit into one same kind of idea when it comes to playing tank. You're playing that tank to be a little bit of a distraction, a little bit of an annoyance. You're looking for chaos. That's what that comp is all built around there, and Wazy did a really good job being able to do that, being able to roll through, be able to knock some people away. They remember after blue team capped that first point, they had high ground. Wazy came in and knocked them all off, forced them to play on that low ground instead. That is the right kind of plays you're looking for from a ball player, being able to really take back a position that your team desperately needs in a situation like that and really never give it back up again. You never really saw blue team try to get back up on that high ground because I feel like they thought that, well, Wazy would just come right back in and knock him down. So why keep trying to do that? You didn't see him go back up to high ground at all throughout that entire last couple fights. So the only person who really ventured back up there was Luvico on the D.Va, who could fly up there on their own. I mean, just one time getting knocked off changed the entirety of how blue team really thought about that map there, about that push. And again, really good job by them. I think Wrecking Ball players are very, very fun to have. They're very good to have as well, because if a team does not know how to shut them down, the other team's that team is in a real big trouble spot. A world of hurt could be coming upon them very quickly.
Yeah, very well could. It can be such a big threat ultimately, and obviously we'll see how these players kind of think about it going forward, as again, if we kind of take between first and second map into contemplation, the full swaps may be something we see going into the third map as well, which would be saying a whole different host of other players and seeing what they can do. This first day could very well be just a almost like, I want to call it like a preliminary check almost, where, hey, let's get everybody who is here in here for at least one game, see what they can bring to the table, see what they can do to be able to show off everybody on this first day. I imagine that's the route they're going for in this instance. Some players, obviously, with it being a full block, will probably get an extra map in there. As to who, obviously, we have no clue. We're figuring things out a little bit as it goes along as well. But ultimately, it's going to be exciting where we go next and what we see next, because we saw a completely different playstyle between first and second map with all the new players swapped in.
Yeah, and I'll say this, just looking at how many players are here, we will at least be seeing new players for hit scan by map 5. Same thing for flex support map 5. Flex DPS is the only one that it will take till map 7 to see potentially someone come back in there. Everyone else outside of that, tank and main support, map 6 will be the first time you see potentially someone get a second map in for the night. If they are doing it where they're going to be having 10 new players every time, we've already seen now 20 of the 49. If it's staying that way again, we will be seeing 30 of the 49 going into our next map here. And like you said, saw a little bit of different play styles and really the support lines. I thought we would still see Kiri Lucio for the most part. And while we did still see Lucio, the counterpart to them was different. We saw Brig and Ana be played as well. And it's showing you right now that there are still some viable supports here. Yeah, Kiri Lucio will be the meta supports probably for, unfortunately, a long time to come here. Even if you nerf them to hell, they are probably still going to get a decent amount of playtime because their kit is just that strong. But you saw the Ana be able to find value. You saw the Brig be able to find value as well, especially into that Wrecking Ball composition. There was times where Wazy got shut down both by being slept and by just being bashed. I mean, they did a good job trying to slow down Wazy, but still Wazy and the blue team or the red team still able to come out on top. You can stop them a couple times in a row, but stopping them every time in a row is just going to be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible to be able to shut the same thing down every single time in a consistent manner. Obviously, the adjustments will have to be made if it's not working out, and you'll make those swaps accordingly if you need to. But it'll be interesting to see the adjustments throughout everything that is given here tonight. But already, some really good views throughout these first couple of maps with these players involved. It's really entertaining to see them go at it. And I'm curious where we go for our next map. And obviously, the players that we have subbing in for this instance right here. So, again, it's all contemplation. It's also something that we kind of have to just see when it gets here. But we got right into the other one when things got going in. I'm expecting similar results here. And ultimately, there are still some names on this list that we haven't seen yet that I am ultimately very excited to see here shortly.
Oh, absolutely. Again, that's going to be a thing throughout the entire night, I think, for both of us. There's going to be a lot of names that we are excited to see, and we might not see them, well, until potentially map 6 of the night, which could realistically be the final map of the night. Or, I mean, if they do keep it just to the 2-hour block, maybe we don't even get there. We're already an hour in, and we've only played 2 maps. So again, we mentioned it before. There's going to be 3 days of trials for Brazil this weekend. I think a couple more next weekend as well. I think maybe more the weekend after, but don't quote me on that. I might be gaslighting you. But again, expect to see a whole swap in of 10 new players. But if we don't, that maybe tells us we might just be seeing 20 today, 20 tomorrow, and then a mix mash on the last day where, yeah, there's still another 9 players that have yet to play, but you might get 11 or 10, 15 more players that you've already seen back in on that final day as well. But again, whenever we do head into our third map, we'll understand it a little bit better. But I mean, a lot of good performances in that first map, or that last map there. We talked about Lubico, we talked about Wazy, but looks like not gonna have the time as we head back in now to our third map of the night. And it does look like, yes, a whole brand new 10 coming in here. Kings Row gonna be our third map. Dive still the name of the game right now for both these teams, but it's gonna be Raze going over here to the Winston, and Akram gonna be on the Diva. So a little bit different when it comes to Dive, but you already see Thunder take care of less.
Ooh! Yeah, and I'd say that's a pretty good cleanup right there. All things considered. The Hanzo, not something you see every day on this point, but you do see like the previous combinations of running with stuff like the Zarya to combine the ultimates. That's like the classic combination when it comes to Overwatch ultimates. But you're going to have to be a little more careful pushing this hotel, because you know that you're going to have, the Hanzo keep kind of holding on to position right there as much as they can. That's why you see Red kind of take things to the open a little bit more to find rotations. You see eventually, though, Raze is going to be tracked down very quickly, and the D.Va staying in mech as they try to find a couple of late kills here as Red's just trying to get out.
And they should be able to here, but I mean, one thing that we didn't really talk about with the blue team, look at what they're playing. They're playing Akram on that D.Va, but double hit scan. You essentially have 2 more hit scans on your support line, for better or for worse. This is a very pokey comp with a non-poke tank. For the most part. And look, you already see Raze go over to the Jungle Queen instead. They understand they have to change up the tempo and just the pace of this one as Akram eats the pulse bomb and then send mids away.
Yeah, that is insanity right there. And you see Raze is back over on this Queen as well to try to find a little more inherent value. And Miz is doing the exact same thing, going over to the Genji in this instance. They kind of swapped up the style a little bit, but this does kind of fall in line with the traditional style of a Junker Queen. But still, this is a comp that wants to play fast, that wants to strike first, that wants to find values on those shouts to go in and find the right target.
Yeah, but they're going to have that shout ready to go here. However, you look at the other side, about to have 4 ultimates, and you're not even going to have your Queen here. So this is already another fallback moment here for the red team if you can get everyone out. But it looks like mid is going to try to at least get one. It's just going to be Akram sending them right back to spawn. This blue team has been able to shut down this red team every time, even with the swaps here. Red team, though, will have at least 2 ultimates ready to go. But you're still looking off the other side as Thunder did use Bola. But you're still looking at a bomb, a Dragon Strike, an Amp Matrix, a Kitsune Rush. I mean, you're walking into essentially a firing squad right now if you're the red team, and you have to play it very, very safely.
Yeah, no, 100%. As we're kind of in this situation where Kitsune Rush creates a bit of space, everyone tries to back out. Lesif, unfortunately, is not able to do so. You do see a bit of a dive attempt there from Miz to kind of take some effort away. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work, and now you're going into this. You have a Kitsune Rush, so Red can be really aggressive here with their next fight. Shanks can make them space, but if you're Red, you almost want to try to run right through and make that space right there, as they're going to be forced out. And yeah, they just completely get out of there. But Shanks going down is literally the worst case scenario. And with this, I don't know how well you can get back into this fight. You might try to force your way with the bomb, and that 100% I think is what they're going to do, as Akram is going lower and lower, eventually knocked out. The bomb going to be used to try to remake in the situation, but with their team falling around them, Bolo Shot does go out. It finds ultimately 1, but it is not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough here, but Akram finding less out there. Mid will be able to trade him out. However, you still need to be able to cap this point, and Thunder doing their best just to stall it out as long as they can. Eventually, it will be Raze who takes care of them, and now they just going to be able to come back on the Tracer. Played that Hanzo at the start, finds Mids, but Mids was way far in that back line there for blue team. Red team, though, able to withstand and push through, get that first cap there. It was looking really rough there for the most part, Hunter, but they're able to do it, able to keep this map alive for them, and you might see them actually start to build a little bit of momentum here. Shanks does have the overclock or the image ready to go for them, but you have, as we get a pause, you have the Rampage, you have the Blade for red team. Those could be 2 ultimates you use pretty quickly here, honestly, just to try to win a quick team fight, because you see where blue team's already setting up at arches. You do not want to lose a fight right here, as it looks like we have lost one of the supports for the red team, but you don't want to lose a fight right there if you're a red team, because you're just going to be back in the same situation you were before you capped the first point of basically playing at your spawn doors.
Yeah, 100%. You just kind of have to, in that instance, not a whole lot you can do when you have a support down in that instance. So we'll kind of see where you take these from there on, because you probably are going to have to hit it. Maybe a small reset button. It was kind of at a bit of a weird point when the DC happened, so we'll kind of see what they're able to do in that scenario. But I guess the important thing to know is Shanks dying early means that you're going to have the Ant Matrix ready for this fight coming up here. And especially being able to fight over at the archways is going to be very important to work with. We know how difficult it can be to break through that instance, getting through that choke. It might be one of the most difficult chokes to push through at times if you have a team that fully settles on it. But obviously, we'll have to see in this instance, as we just have to hopefully get back into things here pretty shortly, as we're just waiting for the DC to be solved, and solved it has been.
Again, like I said, this is a moment where you could use Rampage and Blade to try to build some space, because you don't want to be held here. And I'm waiting for Reese to really use this Rampage, because that's going to be the ghost sign for this red team. And you have to imagine, once it comes out, Mid's going to be right behind it with their Blade. Actually, no, it's going to be Mid starting off with the Blade.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't get a whole lot. It causes a lot of cooldowns to come out at the very least, but you see the separation. Knife going to miss, but I think they have found maybe a bit of the space you're trying to look for with that D-Mech onto Akram. But unfortunately, Remech comes through, and poor Raze They might have to surrender themselves here shortly. You're going to see, yeah, Rafa just trying to get out of there as Raze clearly not getting out of there alive. With a minute and a half, they're going to be able to reset as Blue now with a nice little stack of ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, Bola, Pulse Bomb, Kitsune Rush here. You have two very explosive ultimates here that maybe won't be able to find picks, but will really be able to knock some people down very low to find them clean up there. As another pause coming here, we'll figure out if it's Rafa again who might be DCing. But I really think right there, if you're red team, yeah, it is Rafa again. You really needed that Rampage to go first. You needed to force out some other cooldowns there from that blue team. You need to force out that Amich a little bit earlier on. You need to force out the Suzu as well. And honestly, if your mid's there, I understand the Tracer was the only player you saw, but that might always end up being one of the worst targets that you could go after with the Blade. We saw it right there. They're able just to kind of blink around and basically make the Blade pointless. And then when it was all said and done, Midge was so far in the backline that there was no way they would be able to escape right there and get back to the safety of their team. And just a really good job by blue team understanding all that, just playing the space, playing the map, and forcing red team into spots where nothing was going to really end up working out for them. I mean, you saw everyone else outside of Mids and Rays just fall back almost immediately because they knew, like, hey, we can't do anything into this.
Yeah, you really can't in that instance, and it's rough. You get caught out there, and you're at a point where it's becoming a losing effort in that fight, but you don't get the mercy of a quick reset, unfortunately. And to be fair, if you're the defender, you love that. Take sweet time taking them down, because if you see the Lucio run in there and try to take a little bit of that space, they're just going to go down as well. The reset's going to be even longer. You kind of want to try to get out of there, take that reset if possible. But either way, it's nice to ultimately see how good their defense, I think, has looked so far. It's going to be difficult kind of dealing with the Rampage going into this fight, but they have a Mortality Field, they have Cleanse, they definitely have the ability to deal with it. So it's going to be, honestly, down to them in this instance to be able to go into this fight and at least try to force one of these out before they let it loose.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to play it smart, though. That's the thing. Blue team's been playing it very smart so far. They have all the ultimates, like you just said, coming up online. They could play archers. They could really push up and try to force red team into spots that they don't want to be in. It looks like they're getting set up for that. But like I said, Aegis and Thunder with these two ultimates, those could be ultimates that find picks. But at the same time, if they just find damage enough to allow for cleanup, it might be all you're looking for here. As the pulse bomb's out, not going to find anyone here. But there's that Rampage, finds 3 with it.
Yep, and it's exactly what you're hoping for right there. Cleaning bodies up, Raze dies as a result, but this fight is most certainly one as Akram is just going to go die on the point, try to stall for as long as possible before having to take the reset, and there it will come as Raze getting back into this one as we're going to this next fight. Double Kitsune Rush available, but less if and Mids being close to their own ultimates is particularly terrifying.
Yeah, and now red team's put themselves in a good spot because blue team's DPS line finding nothing with their ultimates. Red team, they should have it. That overclock is a little bit more, you have a little bit more time because, hey, it lasts a little bit longer than both the Pulse Bomb and the Bola here. But Kitsune Rush and Bomb from blue team should be able to at least you buy some time here as Mids does have the Pulse Bomb ready to go in the 1v1 here with Eddie. Just looking to get anything here as you already see Akram just diving that backline.
100%, and they're making space already. Miz has gone down early. Akram still is going to have this bomb ready to go to try to make some more space right here, but unfortunately, yeah, Red's just being burnt down one at a time. No retouch as, much like our last round, held before the second checkpoint, and ultimately, again, an instance of another really good defense.
Another really good defense, and I was wondering why we're seeing some of those ultimates come out there from Red. I just didn't look at the clock. You saw all those ultimates come out from Red because they were saying, like, hey, we need to go. We need to use these there. As we get another pause, as I believe we are probably losing someone yet again. But again, blue team, I think they played that round really smart. It took red team a long time on that first point to get going, basically overtime. And then I think they were a little bit slow to pull the trigger on some ultimates. We saw the Rampage come out there, forced out Immortality Field, forced out Suzu early on, but you still won the fight there after. Yeah, you lost Raze pretty early on in that engagement after they used their Rampage, but you still won the fight. It's why I was really hoping that they would use it at the initial choke point there, rather than having the Blade come out. You could have the Blade follow it up there and be able to get right back to probably where you ended up. Raze, though, again, a little bit of a struggle for them, but I think Akram did a really good job. I think Thunder as well playing that Freya. A lot of damage. We always talk about with Freya, maybe not that kill potential that she used to have when she first came out, but still able to find a lot of burst damage as well is always a good thing because it allowed Eddie Gas and Akram to really be able to clean up a lot of the red team right there. But outside that, Goldfeather and Shanks, I mean, they looked great throughout that round. Yeah, Shanks would have probably loved to use that Matrix to hold first point, but they used it at a really good point on that second point push to be able to slow down red team and basically get rid of all their momentum. Now, though, coming out of the gate, no big swaps for everyone. Actually, it looks like we do have player 21 coming into the lobby here, as Rafa's internet must have not been good enough to hold the steady connection. QWERTY going to be coming in for them now, and looks like we're seeing Vendetta for the first time here for both teams, and 2 maps.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be really interesting to see, and we saw this a little bit before with, I believe we had like one of those swaps at Tank coming through during that first map way back on Lijiang. Same situation here, and honestly, I don't mind it. Why not? Get them in here. Everyone takes the restart anyway when it comes to economy and perks and all that, so definitely plenty to work with in this situation, and it gives a chance to see everybody in different lights as well. When you have this many people, I really don't mind it.
No, it's really good. And again, it's probably unfortunate that Rafa's internet is just not working with them right now, so QWERTY can come in, fill that role here. But I'm looking over at this red team here. Again, no matter what, we will push through till the 3rd point or until red team can stop blue here. But this Diva from Raze, we saw it very late there that last round, so we didn't have a good enough idea of what to expect from it. You're again looking back at the Vendettas here. If Mid's gonna stick with it, if Eddie Gas is gonna stick with his Genji here, it's gonna be interesting. You're looking over at the Vendettas. A lot of presence right now, very strong. You have to be looking at them to be able to clear out a lot of people. And again, you can just look at them trying to shut down Akram because the sword swings doesn't get affected by defense matrix here, as you already see a little bit of a split here from blue team. Looks at support line, and then you see the tank jump up on that high ground as well. Whew.
Yeah, no, 100% you do in this scenario. So, obviously, trying to move forward within this fight. Yeah. Either way, having the Lucio down this early is going to make things rough. But again, you are able to get your reset in here, kind of just form back together, get into another fight. You want to make sure not to lose anybody, though. But it seems for the time being, if anybody, it's less if Jinx that are in trouble.
Yeah, Les is trying to keep themselves alive here. But, oh, there's the double kill you were not looking to see there if you're a red team now. You might just be playing point. Your Rays not going to be able to shut down Thunder, so red team still has a chance here, but you lose mids. Yeah, this is the point where you're dying on point or you're running from point.
Yeah, and obviously 2 ticks already here. I can't imagine you can reasonably contest it in this situation. Yeah, you just try to get everybody the good spawns. You go and play for the point. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be easy as it is, and that is a, honestly, really quick cap, as they're going to keep up that aggression, but do have to manage it a little bit, make sure they don't lose out with someone early.
They just get go throwing themselves into the fight where their Rise has to kind of keep them alive here. But right now, if you're red team, you want to be able to hold this point. Blue team pushed up, no one pushed cart, so now red team's gonna be able to get set up here at this choke point. Rise does have bomb coming up here, good remaking tool, but outside that, there's really nothing about to be online here for red team. Goldfeather should have their Kitsune Rush here a little bit earlier than Jinx.
Yeah, no, 100%, as and trying to find something with these bombs ready to go. Obviously, it's going to be mainly the remaking tool instead, but Kitsune Rush for Drink's going to be available. Gold not too far behind, though. So hopefully trying to get something going in this fight. We'll see who's going to pull that trigger first and foremost to get this going, and it's going to be good, or gold for the blue side to kind of get things rolling. Akram trying to make a little bit more space for their squad, and Kitsune Rush has certainly helped in that regard, as red throws the Kitsune Rush right back, and of course everybody a little further back in this situation, just trying to stay alive, trying to preserve for the fight coming up, because blue still has 4 ultimates ready to go, and they're so willing to keep this out. Thunder is way in the back, and they're going to take advantage as much as they can. The double DPS ultimates thrown in, the bomb to make some space, as red needs a reset desperately.
Yeah, red needs to reset desperately here, but you kind of have to keep this aggression up here, because look at where the card is. That golden box of victory right there, yeah, even though we'll play the rest of the map after it, you don't want to give it to them. You still have a lot of time on that time bank, and that was a pretty heavy ult fight from both teams. However, bomb and beat ready for blue team. They're in a really good spot right here, while the red team's going to have both their DPS ultimates, but you need to find the value with them. That's been the one thing red has really struggled with so far this map, is getting value from their ultimates. As the overclock out here from Les, they need to be able to at least shut down one.
Yeah, that they 100% need to be able to. Still 3.5 minutes over on the clock. Plenty to work with here to try to take that win here. And with Miz down early, the door opens up big time with Raze. Just trying to use what they have left of that defense matrix to hang over on the point. You're still playing for it. Like, you lose that last meter, you lose the fight. But with Raze being knocked out of the mech, resources are drained. Blue will end up taking that fight win and the map itself. But he will continue forward as they will cap second and try to finish the map with 4.5 minutes.
And I kind of have to question what Midge was doing there. They were kind of just crouching on stairs, hoping that blue team wasn't going to take angles on them throughout the entire map here. We've seen blue team take several angles, and they just got caught out there. A little bit of a misplay there by Mids, but at the same time, good play by blue team, being able to find someone who was kind of lacking there. And look at what they have here. They had Bomb and Beat going into that fight. They didn't use anything. They have them ready to go now, and you look at what else is coming up here for blue team. They're in a good spot here, Hunter, to just keep on rolling while there's no good response for red team just yet.
Yeah, there really isn't. This car has already rolled halfway through. We're at the final corner already. Raze gets knocked out of the mech too. So Missy is just gonna have to try to pop off here with that Sundering Blade. Unfortunately, doesn't get a whole lot, but Cordy of all people gets the initial blow, but Thunder has already gotten rid of 2. Everyone's forced into the corner. 3 to finish this one out, and this is a masterclass from the blue team to finish everything out. Little victory, Bomb, and Blade to get things going as they cap with 3.5 minutes. That is insanity.
Yeah, an incredible round there for a blue team. Just being able to really push through it. Red team, I think they just struggled a lot there. And, I mean, you're seeing the stats here. I mean, you could see the players that really struggled. I think Mids was one of them. It just seemed like they were always getting caught off in a lot of times, in a lot of spaces on that flex CPS, no matter which one they were playing. But I think you just saw a lot of good communication and a lot of good individual play coming out from that blue team. It seemed like they were really playing as a unit. Like I said, they were taking angles that the red team wasn't. They were catching them off guard, like we saw Mids there on that second point. I mean, they had Sundering Blade ready to go, and they were trying to be sneaky about it because they were going to probably wait for a fight to break out, then use it, hoping they would find 1 or 2. And hey, if that works out for Mids, they find those 2 picks, you might be looking at a completely different map right now. We're probably still playing the map. But again, blue team, they were very, very consistent throughout that entire map right there. And I think there wasn't really any mistake from any one of them there. They played almost a perfect map.
Yeah, I think it's really worth saying that in this instance. I think this is tactically beautiful. Those first couple of fights, not the cleanest thing in the world, but once they got momentum, they never let it get away from them. And that's really important here when it comes to the Tryouts and what you can do. I think Thunder, I think, looked better and better as the map kept going forward, especially, obviously, you could just chalk up to the play at the very end, but I think they were being really consistent elsewise throughout the entirety of their map here. And Akram, for the instance, does need to be talked about for being able to stick it out on that Diva, make it work for the entirety of that map. I think they look brilliant out there.
Yeah, especially as you saw 1, 2, I think even 3 tanks be thrown against them. They were great against everyone, great against the Mirror, great against the Queen that we saw for a little bit there, great against the Winston as well. Normally, a lot of times we look at that Queen or that Diva and Winston battle as like, there's some maps where Diva's better, there's some maps where Winston's better. King's Row is probably the neutral ground for him, where either one could be better than the other, but we definitely saw there from Akram that Diva was the better choice. And hey, we've already seen a lot of good Diva play tonight here from, I believe, every tank that's been in so far, minus, I believe, the first 2 of Connie and Dalka. I don't think we saw Diva at all from. No, we did. We did see Diva. We've seen Diva from every tank so far. And I think Akram has to be up there with maybe the best performance we've seen so far from them. And that's the Portland as well for that blue team. They did incredible. Like I said, everyone on that blue team played well, almost the perfect map, minus giving up the first point. Outside of that, they looked great. Red team had their struggles. And I know Rafa had the internet issues. QWERTY comes in. You can't really talk about them. You have to expect seeing QWERTY coming in this next map. You would expect them to at least be staying in. But outside of that, it just seemed like the red team really struggled to have any consistency. And yeah, you had multiple swaps going through. You had struggles coming out there, maybe a little bit of nerves. Maybe the first time we're going to be able to talk about that here tonight, just the nerves of being able to try out for the national team, for the World Cup team. Got some of these players, and hopefully they'll, if they have a second chance tonight or tomorrow, they will look a lot better. But that first map is definitely ones that a couple players are just going to want to forget.
Yeah, I think so as well. But remember, you can't define a player by one map either.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think we'll see everyone throughout the weekend still, and be able to see what they can do with more than just a singular map under their belts. So that way we kind of get, again, the perspective of everybody and what they can bring to the table, because obviously you still want to be able to see them with different people as well and see who works together, because again, you kind of quickly look at all the big list here. There is definitely plenty of players that have been on teams together, some for a very short period of time, but others for a very long while. So these players definitely have some level of experience with each other, and I gotta imagine there's some contemplation in that when it comes to seeing with how they play with each other, but also how they play with everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one thing we've touched on a little bit, just how much experience is on this team, whether it be in Face It, whether it be even back. Some of these players have been a part of the old World Cup teams here. I know Xfil was on the 2023 World Cup team. I'm blanking on the rest of the roster there, but I know there's a lot of people who are on this team that were on the World Cup team back in 2023, and I think even one or two that were on the World Cup team back in, I believe the last time they did it before then, was it 2021 or was it 2019? I know there was a couple players that are still around from a couple World Cups ago that are trying out again for Team Brazil this time around.
Yeah, 100%. I know the big name that we kind of see is Ludwig, who played in that previous team. I mean, obviously, as we know, has kind of been one of the most prolific players over the course of the last quite a few years for Brazil, and obviously we got to see a little bit more of them these last few months. But when it comes to who was there before and who's playing today, Dalka is worth mentioning, Zeffel, or Xfil, whichever you want to go with. We'll figure these out as we go along. But either way, they were both a part of it right there. Null obviously was a part of it too, but obviously is kind of helping out with staff this year around. So yeah, so you're going to see some newer names in the situation, which obviously is always good. It's always nice to see more of them in and see what they can do. And for a lot of these players, it really is their first opportunity to even fight to be considered to be a part of that World Cup team.
Yeah, and again, that's why I said some nerves are probably there that they're even at this point, considering how big this lineup is. You have to imagine that there were a lot of players that signed up to try to get to be a part of this here before it got cut down to what is this 49. And I would not be surprised if there's still maybe a couple players that might be added on. We might see more. I mean, we definitely saw it last night with Honduras, but completely different country, completely different region as well in Central America. But still, again, heading into what should be our fourth map here eventually, I do expect to see Cordy stay in. They only came in because Raph was having internet problems, so I believe they're going to get a full map this time around. But they'll also be the first person tonight that gets at least a little bit of a warm-up so far, maybe outside of scrims and anything that any of the other players are doing while they wait for their time on the tryout or on the stream here. So there is that. But again, this should be the last map, though, that we see 2 new hit scans if all the players are here tonight. That is, because outside of this, once we get through our fourth map, we would have seen if we're keeping the case of having 10 new players come in. After the fourth map, we will have gone through all 8 hit scans. So after that, we would be seeing some repeats for the first time here tonight, going into map 5, but still waiting for map 4.
Yeah, again, no guarantee that all 49 people are available at this time, so obviously we're going to be figuring out how things go along. We should be able to we'll manage in our head who we see kind of come in and come out, and if we see certain people get that second or maybe even third map, depending on the situation. But it'll be nice to see, because again, there's definitely a couple names in here that we've seen that haven't played yet here today. That'd be really good to see. Burno is one of those that came to mind as we go out the gate, and Shaunoff is back into the game, takes care of Shin immediately. Oh my goodness.
And seeing a lot of repeat names here this time around. A lot of people on the blue team getting their first experience, but a lot of people on the red team. We've seen Shin, we've seen Scary One, Gusagobo, Shinigami, and Empathy, I think, are new. Rainy Day, Many, Ice Volcano, God Hanzo on the blue team are playing their first maps of the night. So we're starting to get those repeats now, so we might be hitting that number for how many people were available tonight. But Circle Royale, very big poke map. Seeing those hit scans come out here, red team running double hit scan, blue team only has the Widow. More interesting that we're seeing just the straight Venture from Rainy Day on the defensive side, but already finding Shinigami out and doing what you want the Venture to really be doing here so far.
Yeah, no, that Venture has a ton of utility to be able to work with. and it's really difficult to deal with at times, especially when you have a couple of these narrow areas that do kind of exist while there is big sightlands on this first point. So you see immediately Shinigami is going to go over towards the Bastion. It is going to give them a lot more room and damage to work with.
Yeah, and it's gonna be really fun to see it as well. Like you said, the room is the space is what you're really looking for here, and just being able to kind of shut down Rainy Day, who's barely getting out with their lives here, still has to kind of play around corners because they would die, but Shinigami already low here. However, you're looking for blue team here though to get something early on as red team starts to aggressive, and Gusagobo gonna find God Hanzo out early.
Yeah, that is a great way to get this thing rocking and rolling. You're going to have the Ant Matrix going into this next fight as well. Shonoff does let the sights loose a bit ago to try to find somebody. Unfortunately, isn't. And now you kind of see Rainy Day stalling out the point a little bit. Want to try to give room for everybody to get back into this fight. Can't afford for anyone to go down, including Mene, who's trying to build up to the Ant Matrix. You're going to have so much on line here, Dex, to get this fight going. The question is, who's going to pull that trigger first to get things going? And right now, if I'm Gusagobo, I could be considering going first if that door opens up right here. But so far, nobody down yet. Shinigami 3 taken out while you see everybody thrown up into the air. But still, the cap doesn't come through, and red is likely to have to reset.
Captain Sun came out there from Ice Volcano as well, but it looks like, yeah, like you said, red gonna have to reset here. A lot of ultimates, actually only 2 ultimates invested there by blue team, both their support ultimates. Granted, I mean, you only saw the 2 come out from red team as well, but you lost your flux. I think that's very important, especially on this map and this point in particular, because it's just something that can really stop a team dead in their tracks. And red team, they're coming up to a couple ultimates here. The artillery from Shinigami should at least be able to buy some space. But again, you look over the other side, you're gonna have to time shock. You're gonna have that flux for God Hanzo. Honestly, 1 good flux is all you need, and you see the flux coming out now.
Yeah, Gusagobo shaking their head, doesn't want to go down, and good for them. Still alive and hanging in here, but now, I mean, you're going to have the artillery strike ready to go, and you're going to use it kind of aggressively here to try to find somebody caught out weird position, maybe try to get some cooldowns out as you see Shonoff eventually going to be forced out as cooldown's going to be used, and Empathy ends up going down, so the trade's coming through as Rainy Day trying to harass that backline a little bit here, but Shin more than happy to keep them going, push past, and with it just being Rainy Day hanging around, it's not going to ultimately be enough. It's a little bit more stall coming through, but Shonoff is the only one coming to the rescue as Rainy Days just has to reset. 3 minutes now back on the clock as Red with a little bit of momentum working for him now.
Yeah, and good plays coming out there from red team, able to really withstand the flux that I thought God Hanzo could have used there to really end that round. Rainy Days, Tectonic Shock, another ultimate that could really cause a lot of damage too, especially this comp that red team's running. Did a good job just avoiding it. Did a really good job of just forcing Rainy Day into the backlines so far that they were not going to be part of that fight anyway here. Pfizer, though, already out here from Sean. And at this point right now, you maybe only have 1 more fight on this Widow before you have to make a swap. But Rainy Day could at least be able to give you a slight advantage here early on.
Yeah, 100%. Shin gone. You lose out on so much damage right here. You just got to focus on making sure everybody gets out of here alive. And with 2:15 on the clock right now, looks like everybody could take that reset button and move forward. But still, you only really have this Matrix to work with, and you have to be able to force yourself on the angle to find any use out of it.
Yeah, but you'll buy the space here at some point if you're the red team. You're just not looking to lose something like that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird trade right there as God Hanzo's going to try to get out of there alive. Somehow, some way, nobody else goes down as a result. We do see that God Hanzo is hanging around. Rainy Day's also trying to create a bit of a presence to the backline as you see everyone have to drop down. Mene going to use their own Ant Matrix to give them some room to work with, but Shin actually takes care of them. God Hanzo is running out of care as you see Ice Volcano on that Alari trying to supply what they can as everyone is honestly really lucky to be out of here alive. But Rainy Day eventually going to be hunted down. Maybe you see a forced touch here, but it'd be so difficult to see them pull it back here as you're going to get hit with the accretion. God Hanzo, the gamble does not work as you're not even going to be able to retouch here as plenty of people caught with the Captive Sun, but not enough to bring this one back.
Yeah, and again, I think once that flux got canceled out there, if you're a blue team, you kind of had to just give that point up. I understand the investment there from Ice Volcano because, hey, if you can find a couple with the Captive Sun, you might be able to kind of turn that fight around, give yourself a chance. But God Hanzo is just being bullied out there by both Gusagobo and Shinigami after that flux got canceled out. Now, though, you look at the ultimates, pretty I mean, even right now, yeah, red teams could be able to build up to 3 very quickly here in this fight. But you're still looking at a point here where if you're blue team, where if someone like Rainy Day, who's been doing very good so far on this venture, finds an early pick, you could really try to push that aggression back towards red team and get them to slow down here. 2 minutes on the time bank, especially going into this final point, very, very hard to get back to if you're the attacking team. But Shin gonna be able to shut down Sean.
Yeah, 100% as Shaunov, again, it's had really good moments throughout the night, but Shin has also been popping off over on that Sojourn. You're still trying to make some room to try to cap this thing off with 1:45 left on the clock here. Rainy Day, though, is ready to go. The only ultimate currently available as Shin wants to try to close things out right here and now. Rainy Day making their way over on the point to try to solve things out, but the beat going to be used. They're going to try to collapse on this thing right here and now as Shaunov is getting forced into that corner consistently so with God Hanzo gone. You're losing out on those tools to be able to stall things out here. Rainy Day may have gotten rid of one, but is running out of resources, running out of time. Their allies are now non-existent. The DPS trying to stall for as long as they can, but it's just not going to be enough ultimately. They're going to be able to get this thing down to 1:11 on the clock. And while it's a really good initial hold for the blue team, everything they were able to do to nearly force that to overtime, after that happened, they were never able to properly pull it back.
Yeah, like you said, that first point hold for blue team was really good, and one where I thought like, hey, they had the ultimates, they could have stalled out a little bit longer, but once they gave up first point, I think the fact that Shaunov stayed on the Widow just kind of told you that you could see what we saw there, where red team just kept rolling, because that Widow, once you get rid of them, it's very, very easy, or sometimes you don't even need to worry about them. You're okay risking maybe getting your head taken off there, and I think red team, they risked it, and it worked out for them. Sean missed a couple shots, went over to the Soj, but it was a little bit too late there. And again, you see the last second contester from blue team on point too. God Hanzo uses the flux, hoping to at least be able to slow down the car for a brief moment, gets accretioned out of it. Then you see Ice Volcano come in, throw the captive sun. And yeah, they find 2, but it's 2 people in the back line, and everyone was able to stay alive right there. So a little bit of misplays coming out there from blue really allowed red team to take what could have been a little bit of a sluggish first point and complete the map with over a minute. I mean, they looked incredible after that first point. Blue team now, with them attacking, you already see a slight difference in compositions. Ice Volcano not going to play the Iari, going over to the Juno instead. Still allows you to get some speed, still allows you to get another source of damage boost and healing with the Orbital Ray. Many going to be sticking or going over to the BAP this time, as well as Empathy looked great on it last round, and now Scary One. That's an interesting pick on the Zen, because again, always that like glass cannon type hero right there, because if they get dove, they're probably not living, but Discord Orb and just being able to find a lot of damage on that Zen is the one reason you're really looking for here. And this map in particular might be Zen's truly best map in the game at the moment.
Yeah, I think it really is, and we'll see how much ends up changing going into the scenario. Obviously, with a couple of people coming in this scenario, Ice Volcano could be really nice to see over on that Juno to get things started. I'm pretty sure they want to try to take an aggressive approach here when they feel the time is right, but Gahanzo's literally getting every single bullet thrown their way. He had to use a lot there to kind of just stay alive, but Shinigami gonna go into their form to try to stem some of that bleeding. Unfortunately, not able to do so as they're gonna get past this initial corner here and open up the sightlines a little bit more as God Hanzo Gusugo both fighting for their lives, somehow both still standing.
You know, that was something we didn't talk about really. Shinigami going over to that Bastion, I think, opened up a lot for red team, as Shin going to be able to shut down Sean here. And now blue team already just having to look to fall back here. But if you're Rainy Day, you're too far in that backline to really do anything. Looks like everyone's going to kind of ignore you for the moment as they push back up. But red team, with that one pick, look at what it does there. Change that entire fight. You do see Rainy Day's outline back there, so they're still in the backline. And I think a lot of red team knows that. But, I mean, if they forget about it, an assassination could be online here in a moment.
No, 100%. It definitely could be. Shinigami, though, has been taken out early, and that is going to open up that door massively. Shaunov may be down in the process, but I think there's a lot of cleanup coming through here. But Rainy Day gets taken out, so maybe this is winnable. Maybe you can pull this back if Gusugobo can stay alive, but the problem is someone has to force their body on Shin. Might just have to literally fall over onto the point to try to help with that. But unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough. 4:42 now on the clock. Lots of reason to be confident in the blue team right now as they're going to keep trucking on forward.
And I like that play there from red team, not really committing to going down and getting a touch, because it would just put them in a really bad spot for what is a very hard point to push. I see the flux coming out here from Gusugobo to get everything started.
That Immortality Field is there, and it's going to keep Mene alive momentarily. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough ultimately. Shonoff going to be cut off. And yeah, another big fight for the red team here. And now you don't have that combination with your artillery strike, but to be fair, you don't really mind as it hasn't really been utilized up to this point anyhow.
Yeah, and again, you might be looking just to kind of split up blue team right now, but you wanted that fight win right there if you're red, because look at where the card is. This is a scary one. Oh, wow, finding Rainy Day out. But like I was saying, that second point push, much like what it is on Shimbali Monastery, very, very hard to push because you have to go straight vertical, basically. And with that one pick there from Scary One, look at what it does to blue team. They're having just kind of wait for a brief moment here because their entire composition weirdly revolves around Rainy Day getting in that backline and being able to at least be a little bit of a distraction.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, ooh, that's a rough one this early on. Lose out on your tank. Everyone else just have to kind of try to get what they can off of this fight still. But unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of tools as shown off. Taking care of Rainy Day is the last one to fall down as the wipe comes through. Big, heavy ult fight likely going to be coming online here. I imagine you probably want to be a little aggressive with one of the ults if you're the blue squad.
You need to. And honestly, if you're just using the Flux here, if your blue team, might not be the worst idea. It gets rid of that. You have to imagine it would get rid of the trans from Scary One, and you would take that because it allows Rainy Day, it allows Sean to maybe be able to find some value with their ultimates. But look at Gusugobo, already up to another Flux here, Hunter. They're about to lap God Hanzo, but here comes out from God Hanzo.
Yep, and you see that coming out. Flux gonna get a ton of that situation. Shin finds another early connection, and again, blue going to be cut down here. Is there so much momentum going into this again, but that Heartbreak Hill really coming into effect as nearly half the time is already dissipated.
Yeah, and look, even though the Flux did force out 2 ultimates from the red team, look at red team. Still very good on ultimates. They have another Flux. They have an Overclock. They're about to have artillery. Yeah, blue team's coming up to their own Overclock, a tectonic shock that Rainy has had now for a little bit, and Mene should have their Amp Matrix here basically right now. But it's going to be difficult for them to really use it because that card's in such an awkward spot. And your Odyssey Scary One just kind of beaming people down. Gusugobo, though, finds Mene, so no Amp Matrix this fight for blue team.
Yep, not available right now as everyone going to be forced back. Lots of bodies getting low for red. As everyone thrown up into the air, God Hanzo managed to find one in exchange. Unfortunately, I would say it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, but they're going to be able to find a couple of picks in the process. Rainy Day managed to get rid of 2. Would love to get that third and keep the chances of winning this still alive, but with the Zen coming in, they'll be cut down once again as the swaps come through, and red needs to get their members back.
Yeah, and blue team, I mean, if you're going to make some swaps here for them, this would be the moment, but other than Rainy Day getting off the venture, who, honestly, I don't think they've been the problem. They've looked great on that venture. They've been able to do exactly what you want. Going over now to the Echo, I think puts them in a little bit of a scarier situation because you have Shin and Shinigami who can shoot them out of the sky. And Empathy. I mean, you're going into a very, very rough comp to run the Echo.
Oh, 110% you are. Shinigami wants to find some value, and you get rid of an Immortality Field. It's a way to get things started, but Gusugobo is actually going to be the first assassination to get this fight going. Might come down to Shin to find a little bit of an inherent value, and they're going to run in for it. Can't find any immediate connections, though. As you see, they're going all out to try to win this fight right now, but Shonoff is the first one to go down for that squad, and they all fall apart once again. Red will hold on, and this is literally a chokehold.
Oh, and Ice used the orbital ray. I was going to talk about that in this upcoming fight, saying like, hey, you have the ultimates now. You're going to have 2 on your side, but God Hanzo is going to be the only one. Red team just basically use all their ultimates here. You're in final fight territory right now if you're blue team. Rainy Day, if they get a couple stickies to land on someone, you will have duplicate here, but you have to play safe as they try to get rid of Gusugobo, but they're going to be able to fall back safely. And the Flux, though, I think got canceled already.
Yeah, it did, unfortunately. That's rough, and now it's down to Rainy Day with this copy, who, to be fair, has been a persistent force all night. I think you contemplate going for the copy over on the Sigma if you can get it in time, going for that Flux to try to take advantage of the fact that there's no Immortality Field right now, and that's exactly what the case is. Rainy Day, close to getting it online, needs a couple more connections. It's going to come out here as bodies can be thrown up. There's Zoe heap below in there. They're going to get rained on. Gets rid of 2. Rainy Day helps, gets rid of their third. This separation is going to be enough as they're going to be able to cap that second one and keep their hopes alive.
Hunter, again, I know I like to talk about stats sometimes, but Rainy Day has been the only reason that this blue team might have only has gone to this point here. They're the only player on their team that has more than 10 kills. More than 6 kills. they've been playing excellently here tonight as Red Team doing everything in their power there to almost stop it. But look at what they have now. About to have all 5 ultimates online here in a really, really rough spot for Blue Team because they cannot afford to lose another fight.
They really cannot here, but big on the mines right there, or I should say the stickies, as it takes up, it gets a bunch of damage, but unfortunately the immortality field keeps, I think, multiple of them alive in that instance. But Bot has been pushing this entire time, trying to get this thing to that final corridor, where this really is just going to come to one big fight, and you're hoping that Red starts being aggressive with these ultimates right now.
Ice Volcano, though, building up to this orbital ray could be really big here. You need to keep Rainy Day alive, who's playing on their own. They're letting the health regen on their own here, but you find Kusagomo. The button has to be pushed now for Blue, and they're pushing it.
Oh my god, and yeah, and you're see Scary One trying to go in this one, but Shonoff has already gotten rid of 2, hoping to get the 3rd. You see them going to be separated momentarily. Shonoff needs some care, is eventually going to get it, gets rid of 4 in that fight, and now it is a race to get back out to the point.
God Hanzo has bomb ready to go here, but this is a moment right now where the Flux and the look at basically here comes the artillery. Shin will have an overclock of their own, so you have a lot coming online now for Blue or Red Team as Blue Team now in overtime.
Yeah, and you're see, he can be taken off the point. God Hanzo, though, still has a bomb ready to go, is hoping to maybe throw this one in the air if possible, but Gusagobo manages to find one of their own. It's down to a Bob and a copy to find their inherent value. No one goes down to it, though. Rainy Day is going to likely get DMAC before this finds its inherent value, as they're going to get stunned out of it. And unfortunately, so close, but no cigar available, as, yeah, they're going to be taken care of. And that's an extremely close one. A really good job nearly pulling that one back. But again, consistency from the Red Team. I think everybody over there, I think honestly everyone on both sides had some amazingly good moments. Rainy Day almost dragging their team to that finish line.
Yeah, and we saw it there at the end that God Hanzo definitely had a little bit more kills than what the stats on the scrim code were showing us there. But Rainy Day, we talked about, they were essentially the heart, they were the train, they were the conductor, they were everything for that team in a lot of those situations. Playing the venture, especially for the first part of the entire map there, both rounds 1 and rounds 2, went over to the Echo, and we even talked about how swapping to that Echo would have been or was going to be really, really difficult. You're running into not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 essentially different hit scan players, if you want to count the Zenyatta as a hit scan. But I mean, you were walking into almost the worst kind of composition you could have ran into there, but Rainy Day was able to somehow keep themselves alive through a lot of those situations. Yeah, while Red Team wins that map, we're talking about Rainy Day here for a really good reason, because like you said, basically drag their team kicking and screaming to almost tying that map.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, it was close, I guess, again, that win the second to final fight. The problem is because Gusagobo dies early, you never get the Flux out of here, and then you have so much that you have to walk into, and even though Shinigami doesn't get a ton with the artillery strike, it does force out resources. It forces God Hanzo to pretty much drain pretty much all of their defense matrix, with Gusagobo still in their face as well. So obviously rough, but to get to that point, I think it's really important to note that they ended up going that thing when, again, it looked like they were just going to get held at that hill, because remember, they spent more than around 4.5 minutes trying to get up there, and they're only barely able to do it thanks to Rainy Day hitting the big copy Flux. And again, lots of credit towards them, but you see the consistency of both, I think, Shin and Shinigami in the assistance on that DPS. I think both of them look fantastic.
Yeah, that Shin DPS line, which both Shin and Shinigami, like you said there, looked very, very good. And again, this was the first map that we have seen some players that have already had a map under their belts, Shin being one of them. And they were able to basically pick up right where they left off. I think they had a really good first map. They had a really good second map as well. I think everyone on that Red Team honestly had a good map. And I mean, I wanted to try to talk about during the map of both Gusagobo and God Hanzo being 2 tanks that both me and you really like, but 2 tanks that me and you saw sporadically throughout the season, because the teams they throughout the season and Face It this last season, because the teams they're playing on, they aren't starting tanks, but they're still that good. We've seen them come in multiple times in the past during Face It off the bench and be able to just take over a lobby on their own. That's why they are here. And we kind of saw it there. They were even at points. God Hanzo, I think maybe got a little bit of a worse rap, but we definitely saw there at the end. The stats were there for them. Gusagobo, though, I mean, very consistent throughout the entirety of the map there, especially playing that Sigma. Going into a Diva there at times, they looked really, really good. But outside of that, I mean, support lines, didn't talk about them a lot. But I felt like, again, the supports were doing everything they possibly could have done there. And we always talk about it. If we're not talking about the supports, it normally means they're doing their job. And the support line's there. Yeah, we didn't talk about them, but they were doing their jobs. So a lot of times when that happens, don't have to talk about them. Oh, wow.
Oh, well, oh, wow. Okay, that's gonna make
That's new.
that's gonna make things very interesting here. So what we're gonna do really quick, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to talk about, obviously, but they're going to do a quick little a break for 10 minutes. So I think we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing really quick. So we'll figure things out when we get back. So hang on tight. We'll be back with some more of the Brazil trials here. So yeah, take care. See you shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more from our quick little break here to continue the trials here for Team Brazil. Had a quick little intermission to be able to get some things figured out, but it looks to be that is going to be the case here pretty shortly, as we'll have our 5th map of the night coming online shortly. Just had to make sure everything was obviously correct. You want everything to run as smoothly as possible. But now, at the stage of the game that we are in, we've already seen what feels like a decent amount of the players throughout the day, honestly, a majority of them to this point. The question becomes now, as we've kind of seen them, and we've had a lot of players start to shuffle back in, is that maybe this is a situation where truly like, hey, this is our pool for the day, and this will be our pool for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. But again, only last map it was two players that we had seen before. So I still do expect that maybe we see 2 players we've seen before again. Maybe we start to see a little bit more. Maybe it goes up to 3 or 4. But I think that are definitely going to be the case where there are some players who just were not available tonight. And we definitely know the case of one with Rafa, who we did see, but they were having connection problems. Probably might not see him again throughout the rest of the night. However, we could see him this next map. But we definitely would expect to see him again tomorrow and the next day. Because again, this is day 1 of phase 1 here for Brazil. They still have 2 more days left in this phase. And then probably next week will be phase 2. I would have to assume that at the least. But hey, 49, almost 50 players trying out. Phase 1 might last a while.
Yeah, this is going to take a hot minute to get things underway in terms of the aspect of trying to narrow down the field, because it feels like an incredibly tough thing to do to eventually have 49 go down to 7. But I think that's why you're having this last as long as it's going to between the next few weeks to really make sure that you have the best 7 that you can, and then once you feel more confident on like who's the group you like, kind of narrow it down from there. I don't think anything will necessarily come from today, at least just purely today. I think hopefully we'll see a lot more throughout the weekend, and then I imagine that first round of cuts will probably come at some point midweek publicly. And obviously we'll figure things out when we get to that point, but we're just hoping for all 49 of these players to be able to show up here, put on a good performance, and state their case for why they should make it for the next week.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, we've been impressed with every player that we have seen so far here tonight. Even the ones that did have a little bit of a struggle in their one map. I could go back to Kings Row where I said, hey, there's maybe a couple players that would like to forget that map and move on to the next one. I still think they did show us at times what they could do, what their potential could be here. So when they get that second opportunity, those nerves will be gone, and you'll probably see a much different player. However, again, heading eventually into map 5 here, I mean, Hunter, we've seen a lot here tonight. We saw the Zarya Vendetta really only once back on the first map. Since then, I think we've only seen the Vendetta maybe one other time, and it didn't really find the value you were looking for with it. Outside that, we've seen a lot of different compositions, a lot of different heroes, which is really a breath of fresh air. Because I believe Honduras last night, we saw meta. A little bit of swaps here and there, but we just saw basically the meta, and I understand why you saw that for them. But here in Brazil, seeing a little bit of difference shows you the flexibility of some of these players, especially last map. I mean, we saw Echo for the first time. We saw Venture for the first time, Zenyatta for the first time, and Yari for the first time, and they all were able to find value on those heroes.
Yeah, they were. And it's not heroes that you always get value out of, but we've seen a lot of them been played over the last few months, and they do find their inherent value on it. So you have players that are able to zone in on these characters and play them as if they are meta characters sometimes. It's really fascinating to see how they do it. And I expect that we're going to see a little bit more of it throughout the night, and obviously throughout the weekend as well, hopefully. Because ultimately, you want to see everybody on as much as you possibly can. You don't want to just have somebody running the Zarya for the entirety of the weekend. You want to see what else they can bring to the table. That's why I think we've seen things like the Diva. We've seen things like the Sigma as well, the Junker Queen briefly as well. Maybe we see that extend a little further with things like how we saw the Winston for a little while too. We haven't seen the Orisa yet, which, to be fair, the Orisa is normally a tank that we see on a decently consistent basis with this region. Haven't gotten it yet today, but to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me if we do at some points.
Yeah, especially we've now played every mode. We've played every mode. We've played Escort, Hybrid. I don't think we played a Flashpoint yet. We have yet to play a Flashpoint. I think that's the only one we have not played just yet. Or Push. I think we've mostly just stuck to Control, Escort, and Hybrid here, unless I'm forgetting something. But it would be really fun to see a Flashpoint map come in, if that is going to be our 5th map, because again, fast-paced playstyle, and Orisa, not necessarily the fast tank, but you could see it be used as a little bit of a sustain tank, which is very, very good for a mode like Flashpoint here. But again, gonna be interesting to see who we see come in here, because we imagine it will be a couple new faces and a couple returning faces again. But right now, again, I mean, we've seen a lot of heroes. We've seen Junker Queen. We've seen a lot of tanks. Zarya, Diva, Winston, Junker Queen. As, hey, we do know what our next map will be. We're going to be now going into push as we head to New Queen Street. We see Rise, Dystopia, Demi, and Cordy come back in. Cordy technically their first map of the night. Jinx. And I believe that's it for the red team, as everyone else of Talon, Burno, Corey, and Fankton are also showing up for the first time tonight as well. But that Zarya Vendetta that we talked about seeing only one time already throughout the night, back here for the second time, as Rise and Dystopia going to be trying to control the field on it.
Yeah, 100% going to be doing their best to be able to do so. But we'll find out here pretty shortly how we want to try to get this thing started away. There's no one down yet, and we talked about seeing different tanks. The Rhine didn't call it out as one of the tanks we would see, but that is the case right here. I'm excited to see how Burno is going to be able to do in on their first map as well. Should be very, very interesting for that matter. But Stelvia is back in, already going to be getting pushed back over here as Exalon in a bit of an awkward position. Eventually going to be able to back out as everyone is just trying to stabilize, wait for that opening pick.
Yeah, this run has to play very safe into this conversation that blue team's playing, because Lishu can kind of just swing their sword through the shield as Dystopia already finds Corey out here. Red team now might just commit to the bot here for as long as they can before this eventually goes the other way, as Fankton will fall as well.
Yeah, that they will, and you see the attention being brought forward. And, I mean, you lose out on the speed, you lose out on that shield. Everyone else just has to kind of run for the hill, so Blue will be able to take the lead in this situation, as already Kitsune Rush is going to be available.
Yeah, Demi's been able to build that very quickly here, but shutting down Corey as well. You look at Jinx and Talon, though. They have their ultimates online, and those could be something that, because Rise is the only one that might be able to bubble someone through the shatter, we'll have to very much worry about here.
Yeah, no, 100%. And with the shatter here, it can be a really good shutdown tool, but again, Dystopia, big shot onto Jinx. It's going to keep them rolling forward right here. Italian just needs to focus on being able to stay alive and play for this next quarter and protect that checkpoint, because you have a lot available here. You can't afford to be going down. Unfortunately, they will. This lead is going to extend a lot further, and Red just needs to sit back and set up as they lose another one late.
And Lishu's still up there, swinging their sword. Looks like they're going to finally disengage here. However, that bot still decently far back there. I mean, it hasn't even started to make the turn towards that checkpoint. So you could still see Red Team, especially with the ultimates they have here, come in and try to take a fight here before that point gets capped. However, not going to be able to do that. But you already see Jinx starting off with the Amp Matrix there for Red Team. I imagine there's probably one or two more ults that could come out from them. Look over at Blue. Kitsune Rush, grab, about to be online here. Could be very scary here for Red.
Yeah, well, could be Shatter is here waiting for that moment. Shatter going to go down and catches on to 2. At least you go for that pin. You're going to get it out, and Pulse Bomb is going to help eliminate Raze right there. Obviously, Cordy getting hit with it, as Sophia just cannot pull that one back around. But at the end of the day, you can't hate it all that much. Everybody's still going to get the good spawns, and you have your Graviton Surge and the combo with that Sundering Blade ready to go.
Yeah, and you also about to have Cordy have their beat online here. And because they all decided to get off the bot here for a brief moment, everyone can get the forward spawns, but Red Team, I think, just giving it to them to get back up, try to reset here. They know they're not in a good spot here. When it comes to ultimates, they need Fankton to be able to build up to that beat to really be able to sustain through the grab. But Hunter, we talked about it especially yesterday. That Sundering Blade does not care about beat.
Yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, and it's going to get one ultimately, so it technically does its job, but this fight's not really over yet. You can play for the next quarter. Fankton's not exactly a slow character by any means, but the forward spawns, while already gone, they're going to try to extend their lead a little bit here.
Yeah, maybe not the best grab, but like you said, got the one pick, got rid of the beat. I think that's the biggest thing there. Now you still have your own beat for free here. You got the forward spawns back. You're starting to push it up a little bit again, and you're really looking again at the Zarya Vendetta working in tandem here, just going straight after Talon.
Yeah, 100%. You take the trade-outs, but losing your Zarya and Vendetta, not exactly the best scenario for y'all. Obviously, you have the beat ready, but you're going to try to hold that as Dystopia pinned down. The Sport's going to be able to get out of dodge, but Dystopia, lucky for them, gets a part of that rotation for the respawn, so everybody got to be ready early.
Yeah, and again, really good fight there by blue team, or by red team. My bad. You really were able to win that with essentially a dry fight. Corey did have beat ready to go, decided to hold on to it here for a moment. However, if you're able to find one pick out here early on for red, you are going to be able to start to swing that pendulum in your favor here. But you need to keep Talon alive as they're barely able to keep themselves up here. Jinx, so another Amage online, and Corey, a pulse bomb for them. Find the stick onto the right person. It opens many doors for red team here potentially.
Yeah, well, 100% now. Pulse Bomb ready as Corey would love to find somebody to stick onto as Jinx going to make some room, but Dystopia got to get the better of Burno to try to bring things back for them here. Trade starting to fall a little back and forth, though. Corey still has a Pulse Bomb sitting by, and with a shadow around the corner, we could see something come to life, but again, a good shot. Demi, who's consistent with that, is able to help shut them down as red, again, going to fall up short here. Obviously, no forward spawns to be utilized here, though. They were just short on it.
Just short, but again, Demi, they've been very good. And again, this is their second map of the night. Technically, you could say this is Cordy's second map, but I'm really gonna say it's their first one. Dystopia also, and Rise, their second map. I mean, you're looking at this blue team that has players that have been able to get some rust, that nerves shaken off already. And you're seeing here, Talon, this is their first map. They've been good so far. Shatter Online ready for them. They're waiting for the opportunity, but Dystopia in that backline gonna be able to find Fangton.
Yeah, 100%. The Pulse Bomb is also used here and doesn't get a whole lot in return, but again, you see everybody's at the deep pin from Nextalion. Unfortunately, doesn't work out, so Blue is going to start extending their lead big time. Forward spawns back as well, but both teams taking a bit of a reset with the ult economy, but of course, Burno going to have their overclock online first as Corey goes to the Genji.
Yeah, and honestly, going over to the Genji right now might be a good option here for red team, but you need Burno and this overclock to really be able to get you started here, because you look over at blue team, grab Sundering Blade, not that far away, will probably get ready at some point during this fight, as you do see Talon fake the charge in, going to be able to force out some utility, but now you're just looking for Lishu to be able to get out with their lives, as they're playing dangerously here, but able to escape. However, Rise not going to be able to say the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. Going to be able to start pushing it back the other way, and with that, you would love to find somebody else out here. Dystopia ends up being tracked down ultimately, so Dystopia is not going to get their forward spawn as long as that bot keeps moving forward, and 100% it will. But again, Graviton Surge ready, and a beat, to be fair, is ready to match it.
Yeah, and Jinx, again, they've been able to build up to these amateurs pretty quickly here. That could be something that once that grab gets used, much like a Sundering Blade like we saw in the first map, be used. Just to really force back blue team here a little bit. Lishu does have their own Sundering Blade ready to go. Almost fakes it by going up in the sky, but red team's so close, yet so far away to gain those forward spawns.
Yeah, they are right there on it, and bringing down Rays would be a great way to put yourself there, and that it will, as they're going to be able to get their checkpoint. You love to get somebody on the way out, but Nextalion just has to back out, preserve their life, so Red will have a chance to recontest this point.
They will have a chance here, but you have to look at what Red used there. They used both their support ones. So now the grab, the Sundering Blade free. You're going to have a Consuming Rush as well. Do you see all this investment come out here from blue team, or is it just the grab? Because that might be honestly all you need. But here comes the Sundering Blade out from Lishu, and Talon barely able to escape with their life, but they still are on the run.
Yeah, and now you have the shadow around the corner right here, and you could see the grab be used a little bit aggressively here if you find a nice chunk of people together, but Italian just has to try to get out of there alive. Grab could be thrown. That is a lot of bodies. Not a lot of care. They're still hanging around, but unfortunately with Jinx gone, you're going to lose out on all that major healing. This fight should be done and dusted as it is, as Corey and Fennec obviously want to try to get out, but Corey the only one to successfully do so.
I mean, a good fight there by blue team. Investing, though, 3 ultimates. Red team, though, they didn't really have anything to invest. So you still have your Shatter here. You have a decent amount of time here not to necessarily worry about it, but you will be giving up forward spawns here, which is probably one thing that you did not want to give up. Shatter, though, coming out will find 2, and it's going to be able to at least shut down 1.
Yeah, 100%. Got to try to bring this one back, but Dystopia wants to make this winnable still, has gotten rid of 2 before falling themselves, so they're going to be able to push this bot back as far as you realistically can over there. You're going to be able to get an extra few meters on top of this as well, but the moment Talon is back, you're going to see the aggression pick up, but Jinx is caught out, unfortunately, so the bleeding continues momentarily as they get this thing to 95 meters, but it will stop there for now.
And we aren't in that moment where we always like to talk about with 50-50 Overwatch. This is a moment where if you're blue team, you need to back up. That 22-meter lead that you have right now is not necessarily the most comfortable one, especially when you look over at red team, having 4 ultimates in their back pocket and you not having anything. So you're taking these fights early on, but you have to be smart enough here to back out Burno, though. Coming in very late here as Raze will be able to find Corey.
Oh, unfortunately not. And a big pin, though, over onto Leshu to be able to bring that one back around. But still, your team's following around you, and Talon might just have to consider pushing this as far as you can and taking the reset because they're letting them push all the way. The question is Talon going to be able to get out of here in a second?
I mean, there's a small chance, but they need to be able to get out now. And however, instead of charging out, they're just going to shield bash in. And if you're blue team, why are you pushing? Why are you pushing? Why?
Yeah, literally.
Giving it back to red team. You're giving them a chance here, especially with the ultimates. However, grab out from Raze might be the reason that this is not even going to matter. And yeah, that's the reason. Almost getting back in time, but blue team, little bit of a head, a little bit making us sweat there towards the end of that map. But a really good map from them through and through. Red team, though, did get considerably better, and it seemed like the Ryan was able to kind of settle down because I really thought that Zarya, especially from Raze, was going to be able to most likely just kind of one side this entire map. But I really thought Talon, as the map went on, looked really good on the Rhine.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, it's a style that you don't play with every single day, obviously. But the Rhine can find a lot of this value, and I think it found a lot of value as things kind of kept proceeding. But it's one of those characters where, again, the Zarya is a character that tends to get better and better as the fight goes on. You keep building up charge, but Ryan is kind of the opposite effect. The moment you start losing out on that shield and that ability to be aggressive, you lose out on a lot of that value. So, obviously, in the situations, if you're the Ryan team, you want your fights to be quicker. You want to put yourself in a position where you can end fights as swiftly as possible. Some of those, unfortunately, didn't and ended up catching up with them in the long run. But, again, it pays its dividends to some degree. You definitely have some really good fights there that got pulled back because you have the Rhine. Unfortunately, again, at the end, it's just not enough.
Yeah, and you have to think about it. Blue team had an opportunity there at the end. Red team, I think, maybe stayed in a fight a little bit too long. We're pushing up because you have to remember they only had about a 20-meter lead. That fight was happening, the fight that I'm talking about here is happening around the initial starting point for that bot. If red team loses the fight there, blue team is not only getting close to that lead, potentially even taking it there. So a really risky play that ends up paying dividends off there for red team. But if they lose that fight, you have to remember, blue team had 3 ultimates in their back pocket, or red team had 3 ultimates in their back pocket. Blue team, they didn't have anything really coming up. That fight was the only reason they got the grab. If they don't win that fight, red team, they have both their DPS ultimates and a beat or an amp matrix. They would have been able to get the forward spawns back in their control and probably take the lead.
Yeah, and it's an unfortunate situation given how things were. Obviously, hindsight's always going to be 2020 when we talk about Overwatch and how a fight could have gone. But these are all these decisions that are made kind of split second because you can plan for a fight as much as you can, but you never know for a fact 100% of the time what the enemy is going to throw at you. You know, like, oh, we have grab, but they're going to have the beat for it. And next thing you know, suddenly they beat aggressively into you. You're not ready for it, and you don't even get a grab on in time to make the impact. It's just the way some of these fights go down. But either way, I think it's solid overall to bounce back from that situation. The elite pull it back around because there was a scary point where, you know, blue team was getting that thing towards the 100-meter mark, and it felt like nothing was going to stop them. They kept finding these late eliminations. It felt like maybe they could have closed it out there, but it's big on the red team to be able to push that thing back to a 1-fight deficit.
Yeah, and I mean, 1-fight deficit really made it very close there at a moment, but I still think you saw a lot of pop-off plays from that blue team. Again, Raze, second map that they played there, I thought they looked a lot better than what they saw on their first map. Dystopia as well looked really, really good there for them. Hunter, I think you just got a little bit of a confirmation on how long this is going to go. Looked really good for them. Like their Soj was great. I thought everyone we saw there really played good. Red team got off to a little bit of a slow start, but you could tell they maybe need about another minute on that map before. If they had another minute, they might have been the team winning it there, because they seem to have everything kind of going their way, but a couple big plays coming out there from blue team is the only thing that stopped the red team.
Yeah, no, 100% ultimately. I think with that extra minute, you never know how things could have gone. Because, again, they going to that fight, I know they at least had the blade. I think, again, dry blade in 2026 never goes, the best a lot of the time. But I think it could have kind of fun. Yeah, we have seen some. Even throughout the last few days, we have definitely seen a blade or two that have done some damage. But ultimately...
And some that haven't.
Yes. Some that haven't, for sure. But going forward, proceeding into these next couple of maps to end the night, hopefully we see a lot of different stuff as well, because again, the Ryan comes out for the first time tonight. We get a little bit of that Zarya back in as well. It's interesting to see what everybody runs ultimately, and we're not obviously entirely sure if they're being told, hey, to run this stuff, or hey, go in there and just run what you feel is best, and you just communicate together as a team of 5 and see what you can do. We never truly know ultimately, but I think we've had a really good batch of maps here today as our first really view on a lot of these players, because well, we may be familiar with quite a number of them. There's a lot of people watching this weekend that maybe haven't been around this scene for a hot minute and are seeing all these players in action for the very first time.
Yeah, and maybe you've been able to hear about them through occasional stuff when people talk about South America and their play. And I know some of these players, I think, might be in college in North America and playing collegiate. Again, big might. A big might. I do not know all that completely here. So again, I think a lot of people are seeing this team Brazil and all the players and the players that are trialing for it for the first time. And I think a lot of people should be leaving this with a really good impression of how good some of these players, or really all of these players, have been. And yeah, you could always say, well, they're just going up against each other here. But again, when you see all these teams that are already kind of locked in to those knockout rounds, those group stages, they're still going to go through these same exact things. I mean, we have to look at USA at some point here, and probably Canada as well. There's going to have pretty big trials as well here. Maybe bigger than Brazil. I don't think so. I think Brazil will end up having the most people trialing for their team out of any country qualifying for World Cup. But you're going to see all these people, and you're going to say, like, they all look good because they're playing against each other. But no, they're just all that good.
No, they 100% are, and it's been really glorious to be able to see a lot of these players, again, over the past several months, how much I feel like they have improved as well and shown where they can shine. A couple of these, at least one of these players, being at LAN as well. It's really, really fascinating to see what they can do and the level that they can play to. And there's a reason why we have a lot of confidence in this country and this region and what they can do, and why we think they can reach a very deep level in the World Cup this year. With this amount of talent, it feels really hard to argue elsewise, because you never know what we're going to really see in a few months' time when we get into these, these qualifiers to make it to the main stage. It's going to be very fascinating how it all goes down. And to be fair, we've said, like, we feel confident in this team, or all the teams we've seen over the last couple of weeks. But there's every reason in the world to, really.
Yeah. No, there absolutely is. There absolutely is here. But again, right now, heading into eventually our 6th map of the night, I still expect to see a couple new players. We saw a couple new players last time around, but we're starting to definitely get into that spot where we will start seeing more returning faces than new faces. Because outside of, I believe it was Flex DPS, I think the most any role had was 5. So we have now played 5 maps. We should be seeing a bunch of a bunch of returning faces here this time around whenever we do head into our next map. It'd be fun, even though I know not a lot of people like the map, to say, why not visit Brazil here and go to Patricio?
It would be rather fascinating to see Paraiso in this instance. Obviously, we'll see what our 6th map is going to be here pretty shortly, and by pretty shortly, I mean right now. As yeah, not exactly Brazil, not quite.
Polar opposite.
Literally. But hey, it is what it is. But we're going back to the D.Va versus the Zarya, which honestly is really fascinating, because we saw that yesterday in an instance where the D.Va actually got the better of a Zarya.
Yeah, and I think this time around we are seeing that only one player, I believe, Ferna, I don't think we've seen them tonight. Everyone else, we have seen at least one map from them here, and I like that they changed the colors. on us. Fangton, though, going to be able to find Ferna out here early on, and that gives this green team a lot of advantage here. But we're not seeing the Zarya from Connie be paired up with potentially Ligtat on that Vendetta here early on. Instead, it's going to be Luvico finding out Ligtat.
Yeah, 100% should be able to let them take this point as well as, we're going to see them have to kind of reset with that Ligtat in there. You'd love to try to make sure Connie kind of stays alive, keep all that charge, but the team is starting to kind of fall apart around them as Connie is just in a bit of a really awkward spot right now. As Luvico needs to make sure not to overplay their hand as they just have, as they get demeched.
They find Connie right after it. So Connie was very low there. You're getting the point flip because of it. Now you'll find XFL. Ligtat will eventually trade this was out there. But still, Dystopia. They had a great map last map. You're seeing them basically pick up right where they left off. Ferno will find one before eventually Shin able to shut them down. But look, Shin already has Deadeye ready here for this green team. But they can't go in on anything right now because, well, their team is not there. Luvico still hoping to be able to build to their mech in time. Will be able to get a couple pop shots, so mech should be online here. No, actually, Ligtat takes him down and Shin shuts down Pardell.
That is rough right there, and that's going to have to just force surrender the point on that situation there. Going to get it to 31 ultimately. You're going to have a Nano and then a Deadeye ready as well. This is going to be fascinating to see how you opt to use both of these.
This has been a weird start to this map. It's been each team kind of picking off one member at a time and just being lucky with finding like huge picks, like Connie falling to Luvico, who just got demeched. Now though, you're seeing a lot of ultis come online here. Red team though, Red get immediately just invest here with the Nano onto Luvico, as Green just gonna kind of sit back and just watch Connie get pulled over.
Yeah, 100%, and boop onto XFL as well to get this thing shut down. Connie may be down, but the rest of their team is still moving, is going to be able to hold on to the point. Luvico's in a weird area, though, where you're going to see the pursuit to maybe knock them out of that mech. They're going to try to run out of there, and it looks like they should be able to get out alive.
I mean, good job by them being able to get out alive. Getting demeched would have forced out the bomb, and you would have lost a great tool. Maybe just being able to solve the point here. But you look over at blue team right now. Deadeye, Blade, Beat, Kitsune. You're going to have Grab as well. The only thing that Red will not have will be the Nano, but Fangton taken out pretty early on. Wait, did they Ajax?
I think Fangton just Ajaxed, yeah. That is a rough one. And now Ligtat has the authority to go with the Blade. Unfortunately, he's kind of surrounded the Beats there, and Ligtat probably not long for this roll. This point going to flip back over at 87%, to be fair. Really good, and you going with some really good ultimates coming up.
Yeah, but I mean, you did technically get, it was an even ult fight there, 2 for 2 right now. I think it's still the biggest thing though for Red team is you invest the beat in that fight. Connie now has essentially a free beat, and you're putting maybe a little bit more pressure on Luvico here to say, hey, you have to eat this, and you need to eat it. Very, very important for this entire fight, maybe this entire point, as Luvico gonna get demeched here. Already the bomb being used, but they're gonna be able to get safely back in the mech. Deadeye now out from Shin, and they find Ferna.
Yeah, that they do, as Shin gets rid of 2 now, trying to bring this one back around and finish this first point up. And yeah, and it looks like they should be able to do so. Luvico is going to try to stay alive right here. Looks like they're going to be able to help with a retouch and get a quick little regroup.
And I mean, so far, Shin's been great on this hit scan, and I feel like I say that about every hit scan I see because, man, I can't aim in this game, but every hit scan I watch does, or just can. Ligtat gonna barely be able to escape here. Grab, though, still online for Connie. Ferner's the only one with an ultimate right now for Red team, but XFL could build up to a Nano. Ferner, though, not gonna see the pulse bomb, not gonna see Pardell either.
Yeah, and Connie is just trying to clean up house. Is going to take a quick little nappy nap before finishing this one around. Luvico would love to find somebody, but no one, keeping themselves vulnerable, and a nice little visit to the pit to end the first round.
Why did it seem like everything just decided to speed up there at the end of that point? It seemed like Connie was crouching way too fast, and it just seemed like Luvico fell way too fast as well. But really good performance there by Green, or by Blue team. Again, I feel like the grab was almost, especially at the end, being used as a, like, hey, you have to be so worried about this. You have to be so focused on me, because the moment you're not, your team's dead. And you saw it there from Luvico a little bit. Always just watching Connie with that defense matrix ready to go, and it just allowed Shin and Ligtat to be able to just clean up Dystopia, Ferna. XFL had their moments. They were able to build up to a Nano, but again, once the Nano came out, Luvico decided to press the aggression button, didn't find the pick, and instead woke up a sleeping Connie and got basically XFL killed. But now some swaps coming in here into this map. Luvico ditching the Diva, going over to the Winston instead. I have to like that a little bit better for them. I feel like it allows them to maybe play a little bit more aggressively because, like I said, that grab, they knew it was online. It just seemed like they were really playing it as a, I need to eat this grab since Pardell used the beat a little bit earlier on in that point.
Yeah, no, 100%. And fuck, whatever. We're ready to head into this next one, and it's whatever. 1 second.
Yep, I'll cover. But I mean, right now you see Ligtap going over on the sim. Not going to be necessarily be sticking with it. Probably just a TP out, then going back over to the. Oh, gonna be the Genji here. I mean, they played Genji last map as well, and it worked out good for them there. As you already see Luvico diving in. It's actually gonna be Dystopia finding Shin out, and this is somebody who you need to get going here if you're this red team. Because man, we saw what they were able to do last map on New Queen Street. If they can pick that up here and be able to land shot after shot with this railgun, it's gonna make it very, very hard for Shin, Fanked, and Capium to just be able to exist on this map. But right now, you're still, I love what I'm seeing here from red team. They're pushing up. Blue team's still really much committing to this high ground. Red team, though, they could go cap, almost getting it there, but eventually falling off. Blue team now eventually just giving it up a little bit. They want to win this first fight. There's a dive in from Luvico into that backline. They're trying to play a little bit of the door block there on Akani. Not going to be able to find the pick, but eventually red team will get the cap. Ligtat, though, finds Dystopia. Now who you wanted to see fall first here for a red team, but still, you can hold on to this point as long as you can. I feel like at this moment right now, that just might be what they're trying to do, unless they can find the next pick. Shin, though, going to miss the silver bullet, as everyone for red team just doing a good job staying alive, but eventually they're just going to give it up for free, and losing Pardell here, you're just going to have to see it disengage. And now if you're Luvico, you're hoping to get out with your own life. You're going to be able to do that, but now blue team trying to just push the pressure up here again. And you already look at them. Capium, Kitsune Rush ready to go. Xfel kind of lagging behind them a little bit. Dystopia will have overclock here. Shin has Deadeye. So you have ultimates ready to go for both these teams. There's a dive already in there from Luvico on that high ground, but it's going to be Luvico falling first.
Yep, that it will, and it's going to make this really tough to bring it back around as you're trying to move forward, but Capium does get taken out with the Kitsune Rush still being active, so they'll still be able to clean up as you're going to see kind of just a quick reset have to come through here, but already a third of the way there, and a grab going to be aligned right around the corner.
Yeah, and again, I feel like blue team's been playing very smartly this map. Both points so far. They're allowing red team to take space. They're allowing red team to be the first one to dive in. And this is a composition that red team or that blue team's running that can stop a dive. Shin, though, with the Deadeye starting off, Dystopia can try to respond with the overclock, but just struggling to find anyone.
Yeah, definitely a big struggle. Unfortunately, everyone kind of hiding away. It's going to be really tough to find any finishes in that instance, as some room getting made here with that. But Furno finds a really big pick here to try to turn this one around. Still point going to flip over 62% online for the left side, as you're going to see Luvico almost knock Connie off of the side. Does get rid of Capium, though, so he's giving them a big chance to stay in this one to try to keep things alive, especially if Connie were to drop down. But that's a big boop to keep Luvico back and perhaps let them restabilize.
I mean, yeah, Luvico gonna just have to play their life here right now. Pardell comes rushing in with the beat. I mean, if you can find all the picks, yeah, it's good, but you lose Ferna early, and now Luvico, I don't know if they're gonna be able to get out.
Yeah, Connie just still has a ton of damage from that previous fight, all that charge kind of together, so it's going to be really tough to pull it back around and do what you can with it. And poor Luvico kind of has to just throw their body on the point here for a moment, as they're going to try to dive around. Unfortunately, they're in such a compromised position. Ligtat will finish him off, and now with an early flip, you're going to try to find as many bodies as you possibly can, but Dystopia running for it is the only one kind of at risk anymore. Everyone else got out pretty safely.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be red team being able to stabilize here right now, but Shin just watching the high ground. They saw everyone up there for the brief moment, but it looks like red team going to rotate through main. No ultimates online, really, for either team. Ferner should be the first one to build up to something here, but the pulse bombs, other than maybe one pick in that first point, hasn't really found anything since here. Nice dive there from Luvico, at least forcing everyone from blue team off the high ground, but still, someone has to now go down and be the touch. Luvico will find Fankton, though.
Yeah, it does put them in a better position, but still, you have that Kitsune Rush to potentially have to deal with it. But unfortunately, Shin is just too far separated at this point, so you should be able to see them cap the point back over. And 99%, obviously great to have, especially when you're going to have some really strong ultimates. But to be fair, either team is very much in that conversation too.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Deadeye, you have a Kitsu, you have a Blade, you have a grab coming up here. If you're red team, you really need to play it smart here. I know your entire composition is about making the first move, but you need to kind of slow it down. Allow Pardell, allow Xfel, allow Lubico to build up to their ultimates here as you already see him getting booped away off that high ground. Deadeye, though, out from Shin, and that just scatters red team away, but Dystopia! Oh, no!
Yeah, being caught up there, yeah, that is a rough one. Luvico, kind of lucky to still be hanging in there right now. It's really close to having the Primal Rage, but it somehow hasn't been taken down yet, which is really shocking at the end of the day. But here go the Primal Rage online, trying to bully somebody into the corner. As Good City Rush, it's going to be used to force bodies back as you're trying to find a flip, especially as Connie is forced onto the outside of the point. You have that Graviton Surge right around the corner. Pardell gets the beat out, but Fenkin, I think, loses it. Again, there as Litat just has no help left as Connie might get the grab, but it's not going to matter.
Fact, at this point, towards the end of the map, just don't use it. You've now lost it 2 times in 2 consecutive points. But red team, yeah, going to be able to at least make this map go the distance the normal way here. And a really good performance by them. Again, they were still making a little bit of the same mistakes from point 1 to point 2 at the start, but I felt like they slowed it down there, and it really ended up working out for them. Blue team, though, they're now potentially looking at making some swaps here. And yeah, you already see it. Connie getting off of the Zarya for the first time this map, and Ligtat, yeah, on the sim for the moment, but you have to imagine they're going to be going to match Ferna on that Tracer. Luvico looks like they're not making any swaps, but other than that, I have to imagine the swap we're seeing from Xfel there is just going to be for a speed ring out and then back over to the Kiri that they've been playing all map long here. But I mean, again, Luvico, I felt like I said, going into the last fight, they don't need to be the ones making the first move. They needed to have it be the blue team, and they did that, and it worked out a lot better for them here. Shin, though, has been really good, and them finding Dystopia with that Deadeye, I thought was actually going to be the beginning of the downfall there for a red team.
Yeah, I definitely thought so as well. But hey, we're getting ready to receive with the third and final point over here for Nepal. As going to switch over to that double Tracer still. Luvico going to be happy to be over on that Winston to finish this one out. As we'll see who chooses to be the aggressor in this situation. Luvico just has to kind of manage their jumps very carefully in this situation. But when you see that opening, you are simply going to have to pounce on it and see what you can do. But it feels like nobody wants to be the one to initiate, to be that person to go, and especially as Luvico is already kind of struggling to maintain good health.
Yeah, Luvico doesn't want to do it, especially because the support line for blue team is playing around Shin, who can just flashbang him and basically take him out. That's why they're being very cautious about it. As you do see a little bit of a fight now breaking out, but it's already just red team completely disengaging.
Yeah, and you see Pardell lucky to be out of there alive as we eventually see them be able to take the point away, but still they're hanging around. This is still winnable to bring back the other way, especially if Connie was to actually be knocked out of mech. Is hanging in there for the time being as Shin waiting for someone like Dystopia to peek their head out and get themselves caught. Eventually is going to get some level of care as the point close to flipping over. You can't afford to get off for even a millisecond right here as Luvico is trying to be a constant force over on it, especially when you are going to have the Primal Rage ready to go, and momentary step up is going to cause the flip to come over, and Luvico is going to be mega aggressive with this Primal Rage online.
Shin, though, Deadeye out, could be able to find Luvico. They're somehow still alive, now beat out from Fangton as well. Nothing comes from the Deadeye, but now Luvico just trying to still bully some people away, not going to be able to find anyone off the side of the map, but still, no one from blue team has died yet. They've done a good job keeping themselves alive, but the beat out from Pardell does not land on the Luvico.
No, it does not, and Dystopia's in a rough situation as Pulse Bomb thrown out. Doesn't get any value, but already Dystopia and Xfel, rough situation. Sophia is somehow still alive right here. I feel like should be hunted down momentarily as, yeah, Shin and Ligtat going to be good on completing things out. Luvico would love to hang in here. Unfortunately, this is all just stall at this point.
A nice boop there from Fangton, just throwing them out into the sideline of their Shin. Pardell now trying to run away with her life, but again, Shin, they've been consistent on this hit scan throughout the night. No matter which one they're playing, Cassidy seems to be their bread and butter, and right now they're just toasting the other team here. But you look at blue team now, Bomb, Deadeye, Kitsune, all ready to go. Yeah, you're gonna have the overclock and the Kitsune ready for red team, but the Deadeye is just a little bit more of a space taker here as Ligtat finds Ferna as they essentially went into that high ground 1v5 and somehow come out on top.
Yeah, that is really rough. And you still have a lot of ultimates to be able to kind of continue on forward. But Livico kind of needs to focus on being able to stay alive right here as Zofia tries to turn around the fight. But Livico is already down. So this isn't really going to do a whole lot at the end of the day, especially as, yeah, Pardell is going to be taken out. So down to one more fight to go in here. And all you have really is Kitsune Rush. Everything else is going to take time to gain.
Yeah, and again, a blue team, especially this map, has been able to win fights without really investing ultimates. Yeah, Ligtet used Pulse Bomb, but look what they have. Again, the ultimates I talked about going into last fight. Bomb, Deadeye, Kitsune. The only thing red team has is a Kitsune. They will have a beat, but they have to play slow again. And at this moment right now, blue team could just say, hey, we're not going to allow you to play slow. We're going to force you to play fast. And that's going to be what happens here. Deadeye out from Shin.
Yeah, 100%. The Deadeye's trying to zone in over on Livico, who, yes, a little friendly hello hi into the corner. They're taken out, and we're going to be able to see the cleanup come through. It's just Expel and Dystopia who need to try to throw their bodies on, but it's just not going to happen. Bullet into the corner. That ends that one right there as Nepal is going to finish out. Again, very, very back and forth overall, but ultimately, honestly, a really good performance to pull that one back around the way they did.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the stats right here. Good performance by everyone on the blue team. Good performance by everyone on the red team. Lubico, I mean, even though we talked about them struggling throughout this entire map, had the most elims with 25. Really doing a little bit more than Connie, but Connie, their pressure, or their presence on the Zarya going over to the Diva was just a little bit better than what we saw from Lubico that entire map right there. Which, again, a lot of these competitions, especially on a map like Nepal, come down to how good your tanks are playing, but we still had great moments there from a lot of the players, especially especially from Shin. I mean, they've impressed us through all the maps that we've seen them play so far, but again, they were hitting shot after shot after shot after shot. Fankton, again, playing their second map, I think they really improved from their last map there on New Queen Street, able to really boot people into the sidelines of both Shin, the flex support there. And that was just a well-rounded map for both those two teams.
Yeah, it was a really round-wheeled map for them in that situation. I think they ended up looking really, really good. And again, that level of consistency is still a really important thing to see in a scenario like this. Consistency is, I think, maybe one of the most important things in Overwatch next to adaptability. So obviously, great trait to see from a lot of these players throughout the series, and it has been really entertaining to see what they can do. And I think there's definitely a lot of standouts that you're going to see Boss looking at. And for that note, the entirety of the staff.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of hard choices, and we talked about that again, but this is only day one of phase one here for Brazil. Day two will be tomorrow. Day three will be Sunday, and I think both me and you are expecting that the one next Friday, that might be the start of phase two, where we might see a couple cuts, or we just see maybe some people just not playing it as they're really trying to narrow it down a little bit more. But again, there's going to be a lot of action here from Brazil over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, like we said, obviously, we'll try to cover what we can. Obviously, not going to be here for tomorrow as we have a little something planned going into tomorrow, but we should be back on Sunday, realistically, for more Brazil. But obviously, with as much that exists that's going to be covered, obviously, we'll be here several times for it. And obviously, it's going to be very, very exciting for that to be the case. But while things are kind of finishing up here, we got to go ahead and get on out of here for the night. So thank you all for being here. We appreciate y'all coming out. Remember, we'll be back around throughout the next couple of days as well to finish out some of these other trials too. Should be a lot of fun. So we'll see y'all then. Have yourselves a good night. Peace.